Straight. Fagan and Biegel in the morning on Hot Talk, KOAN. And now, Fagan and Biegel.
6:06 a.m. KOAN, KVNT, and it is the Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie show. My pleasure to be with you. It's Friday after the election. Good morning, Bonnie.
Good morning.
We made it.
Glad to be here.
Friday. Yeah, what does it feel like to come back after being in Hawaii for a little while? And
it feels early.
okay.
I kind of got used to sleeping in.
Okay. Now, I thought you were tuned into the show a couple of times.
A couple times, but Hawaii is an hour behind Alaska, and it was 2 hours behind before daylight savings because they don't have daylight savings there. So I caught the last few minutes of the show.
All right.
So
Well,
if we lived there, we wouldn't have to get up till 7.
Right.
or 8.
Well,
I guess if, as you're seeing, Dan is not here. If we weren't going to be here on time,
maybe he's in Hawaii.
he might be.
Maybe he just said, "Hey, I'm going."
I went to
Sounds
Hawaii once. I won tickets at where I work.
Oh.
Yeah, at the Christmas party.
Oh, that's so fun.
Can you imagine that?
Where did you go? Which island?
Oahu.
Nice.
Yeah.
We went there for 1 day, and we went to Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
And saw the submarine and the Missouri. You cannot take any bags into Pearl Harbor now. None whatsoever. Not
For
purses.
Terrorist reasons?
Yes. And they say that's been the rule ever since 2001, September 11th.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know. We weren't real happy about it because to me that says that the terrorists have won. You know, that's just letting them win.
Well, why would they attack a museum? You know, I mean, honestly, if you're gonna attack something, does that make any sense to you?
I don't know.
It's been a rule since December 7th, 1941.
Oh, really? Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I thought I was serious.
Come
I
on.
thought you were serious.
No.
Like
No more
you could
bombs.
never bring any bags into Pearl Harbor at all.
Yeah, or torpedoes.
Okay, there was my blonde moment for the moment.
We got that covered.
No, but it was very disconcerting to be met at the gate, you know, being told you can't bring in. And then people were saying, "Oh, well, can we bring in a water bottle?" I mean, come on, this is America. Everybody should be carrying a
It's
gun, and then it
America.
wouldn't be a problem.
It is America. I don't really understand that. I guess you think about it, and why would they want to blow up? You know, if you want to get an effect, you go blow up a school.
Or I mean, yeah, and it happened by airstrike. Are you going to make no planes allowed in the area either? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a little.
What do you think's going to happen with the drones? I mean, here we are. We've got a country, and they all these rules about what you can and can't do. The FAA is out there restricting who can fly this, that, or the other thing. But yet now they're thinking about Amazon delivery by drone, and you'll be able to get your groceries by drone. They're going to do letters by drone. I have a feeling that it's going to get really confusing as to what it is you can do.
That sounds very Jetsons to me, and I just think it sounds silly.
Coffee
I guess
drone.
we're headed, yeah.
Coffee drone.
Maybe
It
that would be
McDonald's
a good
drone.
It won't sound silly then, will it?
when I want my coffee.
Yeah.
When they can fax it to me or, have it just appear before me.
3D print it.
Right.
Oh, wait, there's a coffee machine.
Yeah.
Hey.
Then we'll talk. But something flying around, buzzing around, no.
I
don't
like
that.
3D printer. I wonder what percent of people understand what a 3D printer is.
I'm not sure I really do. I've seen prototypes of guns that were printed on printers. And
I guess that makes 33%.
So what a 3D printer is normally, let's just take that they can print plastic. And so what it'll do is when your dot matrix printer moves its print head across the paper, it heats up its ink and shoots it onto the paper.
Oh.
Okay, and it doesn't make, you can actually feel it in some cases. You can actually feel the ink if you rub your fingers across it. I have really sensitive fingers. So what a 3D printer is it heats up plastic and shoots a layer of plastic. And then it goes up another layer after that's cooled and shoots another layer of plastic.
Wow.
And it goes up another layer and shoots another layer of plastic or whatever material it is that you want.
I cannot even imagine.
Isn't that wild?
I guess I'd have to see it to believe it.
Yeah. So, but that's the way that it works. They think that you'll be able to print your clothes in the future. You just, that whatever material it is, and your clothes wouldn't necessarily last all that long, but that you could print your clothes. They think you'll be able to print organs. Like the little plastic, because they could do magical, miraculous things, with stem cells. Now that they know that they don't have to harvest them from unborn children, they can get them from the end of your nose and from your fingers, and actually they can create stem cells. They now know from anything. You can just sort of reprogram their cells to act like stem cells. Stem cells can become any kind of cell. But so yeah, now they print the outline of an organ, and then they infuse it, as somebody said, I think yesterday, with a whole bunch of stem cells, and then tell the stem cells, I want you to be a muscle cell. I want you to be a heart muscle cell. And so then it starts to function as an organ. So
that's amazing.
It's totally amazing.
That's almost creepy.
Yeah,
it's like you're becoming God or something.
It is. We're figuring out the mysteries of the universe for sure. So we had many interesting discussions. I got a lot of response from yesterday's show.
Really?
Yeah.
What did you hear?
Well, they really like, I used to rant regularly.
They like it when you get worked up.
Yeah, I was called the ranter in chief. And so the people out there do enjoy when I get worked up. And so we had all these discussions about what to do next. What's the next step, and how many is enough. And a lot of people in the Tea Party, and just a lot of people in the Republican Party, want to be able to govern. Only problem is we don't have the presidency. So we're still running against the president, and that's the point I was making yesterday by yelling at Bonnie.
And I'm just a willing participant here. I just sit here and get yelled at.
That's what my wife said.
And then I was joking with you, but kind of not really.
Oh, that's what my wife said. I got home and my wife says, I don't like it when you yell at Bonnie.
Yeah, but I can yell back.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I can take it. But I was joking with you, kind of, that you can yell all you want. It doesn't make you more right. I still maintain that if the Republicans don't go to D.C. and really walk their talk and follow through on all their campaign promises, then we're not going to have the presidency, because that seems to me to be the vicious circle that we're going through.
Yeah, it's a this was a comment I made yesterday to somebody. There's a whole bunch of parts to the point that you're making, and they're all important to talk about. And so we'll do that. We're going to have ourselves quite a show here. It's Friday after the election. We still don't know how it's turned out. I'll give you an update on the numbers that we know, and the Senate, the House have organized themselves, so lots going on here in the state of Alaska. Love to hear from you. 569-1080 KOAN KVNT. Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie are on. 1080 KOAN KVNT. Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie are on.
Fagan and Biegel on Hot Talk KOAN and online at 1080KOAN.com.
Just a short drive from wherever you are. Get your tickets now for the Connect Country Liquor Holiday Wine Tasting. There are only a limited number of tickets available, so you can enjoy a relaxed atmosphere and taste a multitude of fabulous wines. It's the 16th annual Connect Country Liquor Holiday Wine Tasting at Evangelos, Saturday, November 8th from 7 till 9. This premier Valley event kicks off the holiday season. You'll have the opportunity to buy your favorites at drastic savings, but on that night only. Advance purchase is necessary. No tickets at the door. Get them now at any one of our 4 convenient, locally owned and operated tax-free locations. This event is black tie optional. The 16th annual Connect Country Liquor Holiday Wine Tasting at Evangelos, Saturday, November 8th. Keeping the valley in good spirits, yeah. Connect Country Liquor, oh yeah, KKL.
Wells Fargo has exciting news. Until November 16, 2014, customers can come in for a free credit score and complimentary credit report. That's almost as exciting as a credit tip from the jungle.
And as night descends upon the Amazon, one thought comes to mind. A better credit score could get you better interest rates.
So come into Wells Fargo for your free credit score and complimentary credit report.
Wells Fargo. Together, we'll go far.
Wells Fargo Bank N.A. member FDIC. See a banker for specific promotion details.
There's a lot of so-called experts out there claiming to have the key to success in business for a price. Are you ready for real business advice you can trust without a fee? Then don't miss Getting Down to Business with David Weatherholt. Advice from people in the know. Technology, finance, taxes, and more. Business people helping business people take their skills and services to the next level. Getting Down to Business with David Weatherholt. Saturday from 8 to 10 a.m. on Hot Talk, KOAN. 95.1 FM and 1080 AM. You're on with Fagan and Biegel on Hot Talk. Fagan, Biegel. Weekdays 6 to 9 AM. The Talk of the Valley. KVN.
6:17 a.m. It's Friday. Made it all the way to Friday. Do you take Friday as some kind of success? Although you've had such a strange week. What did you work? A couple days.
This is only my second day, really.
That's just wrong. There's so much wrong about that. I loved Hawaii, by the way. It was so strange for me. I'd only been to one beach in my entire life, other than Goose Lake.
Oh.
Does Goose Lake count, by the way, as a beach?
I'm sorry.
It does not count. Brian, you gonna back me up on that?
Yeah, it's more like dirt.
Dang it. So anyway, I've been
With
to Long
bacteria
Beach in January. And you know what? The strangest thing, this is Long Beach, California. There was no one there.
What time of the year was it?
January.
January, okay.
Yeah, it was the
It's the
strangest.
middle of winter.
Yeah.
It was the strangest thing. I always thought there's always funny games going on in Long Beach.
Did you dip your toes in the water?
I went into the water and I got right back out because I think it was like 58, 60 degrees.
Pretty chilly.
It was
Glenn's
not
wearing shorts, and the people that live there are wearing parkas. It's like 45,
was weird.
50.
Yeah, I drove. I was in college. I went over to see a friend of mine who was going to college in California. Harvey Mudd College was the name of the college. And I drove my motorcycle. I had a motorcycle back then.
Cool.
Oh yeah, it was very cool. And I remember the strangest thing. I was on like a 7-lane freeway, and I was on the second to the rightmost lane, and I was going about 75. I thought, yeah, this feels pretty good. This is fun. In the lane next to me, somebody shoots by me going 85. In the lane to the left of that, somebody shoots by him going 95. And in the lane next to that, somebody shoots by him going about 100. And then to the right of me, because I'm in the second lane to the right, a police car goes by all of us going 120.
What? With his lights on?
What
Or no?
No, he didn't have his lights on. Everybody was just getting somewhere really fast. I was like, this is some kind of crazy place.
You need a faster car.
My little motorcycle. It was a little 450. So it wasn't like, a super powerful thing.
That's really brave, too, to drive a motorcycle when you're from Little Alaska.
Yeah.
Little Big Alaska.
Yeah.
In California with all those people.
I kind of knew that the motorcycle wasn't going to work out for me. By the time I got back, by the way, my first and second gear had destroyed themselves.
Oh.
So I was riding around in third, fourth, and fifth gear. And sixth. I think there was 6
But it was good on gas.
forward gears. Oh, it was fantastic. Got like 70 miles to the gallon.
Yeah.
And so while I was fixing that motorcycle, somebody actually stole the frame.
Oh.
I went to school at Arizona State, and they would steal everything.
If it's not tied down.
They stole my motorcycle. They stole a truck that I had. They stole bicycles. They stole my backpack. They stole my wallet. Anything. I mean, it was the craziest.
Did you leave it all on the curb, or?
My bicycle. Yeah. Well, the frame of because I was trying to fix the engine to get the first and second gears to work again, but they stole the frame as it sat in the bicycle area.
Oh my goodness.
Like, seriously? Of course I didn't have that chained up. I did have my bicycle chained up, but the bicycle was worth like $12. I don't even know why I brought it down. Anyway, it was. So
did that make you a little cynical about Arizona, or did you say I want to go back to my Alaska where I?
Well, when they stole my truck, that was a heartbreak.
Yeah.
It was a '69 Chevy long bed. It was in really good shape. Some lady, I think her husband had probably passed away, and so she just kept the truck around, didn't really drive it all that much. But it was really great shape.
Nothing was ever recovered.
No.
It's starting to sound like a country song.
I know. And did you have a dog in this too? And
I did not have a dog.
girlfriend.
I did have a snake that got lost in my dorm room at some point.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I've lived quite a life.
So what made you come back to Alaska, by the way?
I got into a really horrible accident
Mm-hmm.
when I was 20 and broke my back.
So you needed like family to take care of you?
Well, my
or-
mom went down. She sort of shepherded me back to health, and then I went back to school. But then I don't know. I messed up, and I didn't sign up for my classes properly. So I decided I was going to go back to my tried and true profession of fish processing.
Ah.
So I got in a fish processor out of Seattle, and spent January through August on a fish processor, which I'd done, basically 4 out of the previous 5 years.
So does the smell of fish still get to you?
Mostly you don't have very rotten fish when you're actually on the processor. But yeah, occasionally in the fish processing plant here in Anchorage, it would get a little randy.
Yeah.
Is that an
would think
okay
so.
term to use on the air?
Randy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay. That's all right. That's not. I don't want to say anything too.
You don't mean like rank or...
We have
Rank.
intelligent radio here.
All right.
Give our listeners some credit.
All right. Well, anyway, so I ended up coming back up to Alaska, finishing up my degree at UAA, and then from there, I kind of just do what my dad did here in town. Actually, every person I've ever gotten hired by here in Anchorage worked with my dad. Isn't that funny?
Well, he must have a good reputation because then
He
they
did.
hired you.
He absolutely did. He worked for IBM for 31 years.
Wow.
Lots to cover on the show. We are seeing the last of the races wrap up. There's still 2 that are out, and they're not calling a third one, but I'm not really sure why. I think Vasquez or something, or there was a Hummel. We'll go through this, but basically we know who's going to be in the house. I have a feeling no races at this point are going to switch hands.
I don't understand how they're already deciding who's going to be majority leader and so on and so forth. I mean, it's only been 3 days since the election, and some are some aren't even called yet. I mean, those people miss out. I mean, I've heard that Dan Sullivan is now missing out on.
Yeah,
some kind
Mark
of
Begich
orientation.
is to the point here where he is acting in a very untraditional way. Now, this is within his rights. I will tell you that he is, by the way, and I'm gonna let this out. Max Crow's spokesman for Begich said this: Begich is behind by around 9,000 votes. He won't make them up. He can't make them up.
Significant. I mean, that's not a small number.
Not even close. And in all likelihood, it will increase. But there's no possibility that he is going to win this election. Mark Begich is done. He's not our senator. That's not to say he's gone. That's not to say he's not going to run. If we put up Don Young again in 2 years, Mark Begich will beat him.
You think so?
Absolutely. 100% guarantee if Mark Begich and Don Young match up, Mark Begich is going to beat Don Young. It's just because what they will go through are the sins of Don Young, and you just will not believe how many of those there are. So that's my guess as to
I
how
think
this
there's
all
more
turns
with
out.
Mark, though, being the 60th vote.
Yeah, but
Still, that will follow him always.
Don Young was going to raise about $200,000 to $500,000, and Mark Begich will raise $10 million.
I'm wondering if Parnell will do that now, run again.
I don't think so. I think Parnell might be done with politics. He's just not a very good politician. He had every opportunity to win this race. I thought he could have won the race by 10 points. If he had made his case and he had used the powers that he's granted as governor to let us know what he was doing and his approach to things, and then had responded properly politically. Anyway, we'll talk about that. But here's my problem with Begich. And this, I think, speaks to his character. And so his spokesman, Max Crows, says this: every vote deserves to be counted right now. Voices in rural Alaska haven't been heard yet.
Oh.
Now, see,
Which is not true.
you can start your racism, Max Crow's spokesman for Begich, but I don't have to like it. I'm not a racist. I want every vote to be counted. In fact, I require and demand every vote be counted. And the idea that you can speak for me and tell me that I don't want votes because they're from rural Alaska to be counted is so offensive. It's so outrageous that it makes me want to come right out of my chair. Don't use race. Stop this. This speaks to your character. And frankly, Mark Begich, if this is the person who's going to speak for you, I'm going to remember this. This is what I will remember of you. That you used race as you went out of office. And I know you're running again. But I hope people remember what Mark Begich's final parting shot was. He wouldn't give up. He wouldn't allow Dan Sullivan to become a part of the new Senate majority. He wouldn't step down. Yes, we're going to count every vote. Every person has every right to have every vote be counted. And we always were going to count them, by the way. So this has nothing to do with that at all. But for you to use race in such an outrageous and offensive way, like all these conservatives don't want people's votes to be counted. By the way, do you know whose votes we are missing right now? Military men and women. That's whose votes we have yet to count. So don't start talking to me about this race issue. The people who you should have been standing up for against this president and never did, or rarely did. I won't say never. Those are the people, and I don't see a tweet about them. Does this stuff get under your skin, Bonnie?
Well, yeah. When I read that, I immediately thought of the military members, and also, I mean, you could say the same thing about absentee voters. I have been an absentee voter before and been like, wait a minute, my vote hasn't been counted yet.
Well, no, most absentee votes have been counted because people will absentee vote or early absentee vote for the most part, and they'll be in by Election Day. If they're in by Election Day, then they count them as many as they can on Election Day. So,
yeah, the early.
Yeah,
votes,
now
right.
they have to be postmarked by day of.
Mm-hmm.
So they count a batch then they wait a week for whatever reason.
Exactly,
and
but
next
that's
Tuesday
what I'm saying. I've been in the absentee voter list, and amongst those, and
your votes are counted. Just because somebody concedes doesn't give.
No, it just means that there's not a chance that there's going to be enough votes to overcome that.
When he ran against Stevens, wasn't Stevens ahead the day after?
Stevens was ahead by 3,000 votes, and Begich won by 4,000 with 100,000 votes to count.
Yeah.
Because they had really worked hard, all their absentees.
And that was another thing I noticed when we were in Hawaii. Every time they would talk about Mark Begich, because it was a lot. He was on the national news. This race was on the national news a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And every time they would talk about it, they would talk about him winning 6 years ago against Ted Stevens, and they'd always talk about Ted Stevens being convicted felon Ted Stevens, but they would never say that he was exonerated.
Wow.
And that really drives me crazy because it was such a huge deal.
And the bad thing about all those absentees, it was the week before the election where he was semi-exonerated, where they basically let it out that there was, some
foul.
Well, the week before the election, they actually convicted him. It was January, just before Mark Begich took.
Oh, okay.
But there was already prosecutorial misconduct.
They already knew that there was a problem, and they had started looking into it. It was George Bush that looked into the difficulties that went on, and then in January they actually removed all charges with prejudice. They removed the charges, so it's like he's never been charged.
Just in time.
Unbelievable. All right, lots to cover on the program today. 569-1080 KVNT KOAN Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie, and it is Friday. We made it. They do. AN, Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie, and it is Friday. We've made it.
Don't just sit there. Give them a call. 569-1080. Join the conversation. KOAN.
With KOAN News, I'm Chuck White. A retired teacher has been arraigned for sexual abuse of a minor, while investigators say they continue to search for other potential victims. 73-year-old David Schwantes taught 3rd and 4th grade at Mount Spur Elementary School on the Van Elmendorf Air Force Base from 1968 to 1993. Later worked as a substitute teacher in Anchorage. He reportedly is accused of abusing a boy in the late 80s. Local investigators say they now must review his complete teaching history to see if there are other alleged victims. Schwantes, previously presented with the Teacher of the Year award. Hey, it's something, huh? Boy, I tell you, the Sitka School District has agreed that boys and girls baseball and softball teams will get equal time to practice and play on the city-owned field. The agreement apparently will help the local district avoid an investigation by the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights. That's your Hot Talk News update.
Today, partial sunshine, high 35. For tonight, mostly cloudy skies with snow and little to no accumulation is expected, low 25. Partly sunny with a rain or snow shower in spots for Saturday, high 38. Tomorrow night, low 28. Sunday, snow and rain with little to no accumulation, high 43. Hot Talk, breaking news, and the latest weather. KOAN 95.1 FM and 1080 AM.
Hi, I'm Brad Keithley. Like you, I'm glad the election is over. Now it's time to put Alaska's fiscal house in order. During the campaign, the state's fiscal condition didn't stay still. It got worse. The price of oil dropped dramatically. $6 billion, but at current oil prices, revenues will total only about $3 billion. That's a deep hole. Getting out of that hole means making tough choices, and we know our leaders can't do it alone. They'll need the support of people like us, people who believe in a simple common sense principle that Alaska must live within its means. A couple of years ago, I founded Alaskans for Sustainable Budgets to help fix the budget. I pledged to work with the leaders we just elected, both those I supported and those I didn't, as they address the state's fiscal gap, and I'm asking for your help. Join us at itsourfutureak.com to help put Alaska on the right track and to urge legislators to support sustainable budgets. We need to fix this. Working together, we can. itsourfutureak.com.
I hereby officially proclaim this as Crab Week at Noosagayan City Market. In celebration, Noosagayan City Market want to arrange dive exhibitions by the famous loincloth-clad crab divers, and of course the crowning of Miss Crab Legs, or maybe not. Anyway, most important, of course, are the excellent prices. Just $17.99 a pound for the giant Golden King crab clusters. Legs and claws only, just the parts you like best, $17.99 a pound. But the pièce de résistance will be live, sweet, and juicy Dungeness crab. Fresh from the seawater tanks at Noosagayan City Market, just $9.99 a pound. And of course, your friendly seafood monger will be happy to cook them for you, no extra charge. Free-range fryers are special this week from the butcher shops at Noosagayan City Market. Yes, free range, and a bargain price of just $2.19 a pound. And fresh from the produce department, the first of the season jumbo navel oranges are special, just $1.99 a pound. Bring the gunny sack and fill her up. Noosagayan Midtown City Market, 13th and I.
If you need sandbags to give your car or truck a little extra traction on the ice and snow this winter, come to West Eye Hockey Sandbag Fundraiser. You get to see your West Eye Hockey Varsity, JV, and Cheer Squad for the 2014-15 seasons. They'll be selling sandbags, $5 each this Saturday, November 8th from 11 a.m. till 3 p.m. in the lot between Benson and Northern Lights Boulevard, west of Cars Aurora gas station, in the Sears Shopping Center parking lot. Proceeds support the athletes throughout the season. So come on out and support your West Eye Eagles.
Local news, weather, and the Dan Fagan Glen Biegel Show on Hot Talk. KOAN. Brought to you by Connect Country Liquor. With 4 convenient locations in the Valley and Talkeetna, you won't find a better selection.
When I grew up, I wanted to be a pro basketball player. An elementary school teacher. Oh, an Olympic gymnast.
No matter what dream you choose or where you are in life, your local Country Financial representative offers helpful advice on everything from auto and home insurance to financial planning, education to retirement, and business insurance too, so that you can continue to grow and dream. For more information, visit countryfinancial.com or call 1-866-COUNTRY. Country Financial. Grow your own way.
Do you remember that Beatles song? If the rain comes, they'll run and hide their heads. You know which one I'm talking about. Well, if that's you and you're inside your home or office, it's time to call Earhart Roofing. Call Earhart Roofing for all your roofing needs. Flat or pitched, large or small, Earhart Roofing will do the job quickly, and they'll do it right. Earhart Roofing, big enough to serve you and still small enough to care. Call 345-5555. That's 345-5555.
Here's my good friend, Keith Montronock.
Automotive repairs can be frustrating. Let me help. Call 349-1637. I have been in business for nearly 20 years at the same location. Specialty Truck and Auto is in South Anchorage behind the Long Branch Saloon where Diamond becomes Abbott. I have 6 ASE certified technicians working from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. I have a voucher for any of the 6 Alaska Laser Wash locations for each customer. If you schedule ahead and need a ride when you drop your vehicle off, I may be able to help. Call Specialty Truck and Auto, 349-1637.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel.
And this local station.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel in the morning on the Talk of the Valley, KVNT 92.5 FM, 1020 AM.
Lots to cover today. Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie here on KOAN, KVNT 569, 1080. It's 6:36 a.m. And we now know that there are 15 in the Senate Republican majority, and that's important because 3/4 is what is required so that you don't have to dip into the constitutional budget reserve. And if people will remember, when we're in deficit in the state of Alaska, you have to have a 3/4 majority to dip into the constitutional budget reserve, or also known as the piggy bank. And what Democrats would do every time, this is throughout the entire 1990s until we did get a supermajority of Republicans, is they would say, well, I'll let you dip into your piggy bank, but it's going to cost you $10 million. You fund $10 million of the projects I want, and this is per district, by the way, and sometimes they needed 2, 3, 4 votes. It was pretty brutal. So they would pump up the budget, and it was always a huge struggle. So now they have 15 votes in the Senate. The House is not that well configured. I imagine they will try and get a couple of Democrats to come over so that they do have a supermajority and they do not have to go to the floor and then trudge through the Democrats demanding more and more and more and more and more money. Although they did run on fiscal conservatism, did they not, Bonnie?
Oh, yes. They're all going to cut the budget.
Yep.
Every single one of them.
Every single one of them. Vince Beltrami is going to cut the budget.
Teachers,
Byron
first.
Lamont, teachers are going to cut the budget. Well, it's good to get some of these organizational things out of the way. You were asking the question, why do they organize so quickly?
Right. I mean, it's only been a few days. They've got a couple months yet.
Well, there's human nature at work here, I think, and then there's legislative process at work. So human nature is, if you've got a Band-Aid and you've got to take it off, and you know you got to take it off, the worst thing you can do is sort of every once in a while kind of pick at it. That's the worst thing you can do.
Pull a little bit more. Right?
Yeah, and so the best thing to do is you very swiftly, you just rip that Band-Aid off. And the same thing is true for your majority, for who's going to lead, who's going to be in what positions. You want to do it quickly because if it's done slowly, you'll end up collecting enemies.
Right, but I mean, some of these races have, I mean, there's quite a few that have not been officially
Well, those are in
yet.
the House.
Right, but what I mean is, isn't it all the same thing? I mean,
No. The House has their own leadership, and the Senate has their leadership.
Right.
Now, the House has actually decided its leadership as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
My
they
guess
know that
is,
these new people are not going to make a difference.
well, yeah, that they had enough people. Basically, the House just decided to stay where they were. If the 3 new people all get elected, and I think they end up with 27 at that point. It will change the makeup of it, but again, you just don't want to let these things simmer because bad feelings start to come about.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, basically, what you're doing in management, or when you're organizing the House and the Senate, is you say, okay, I'm going to go talk to you, and then I'm going to go talk to Joe. Okay, but when I'm talking to you, I'm asking you what you want, and you'll say, but we can't have Joe as the head of education. And I'll go talk to Joe, and Joe'll say, that's fine. I don't mind being head of Veterans Affairs, but you can't have Bonnie as the head of... So you're going around, you're making promises, you're asking what bills you want to be heard, and what generally happens is, as the froth, if you keep frothing the mix, more and more trouble starts to brew.
Is it true that they can't be, like 2 or 3 of them cannot be together at once? Like,
I know in the Assembly, you can't have more than 5 together at a time. I think you can have 4, but you can't have 5. Yeah, because there's public meetings, processes. The legislature, by the way, and the majority caucuses and the minority caucuses are totally exempt from all public meetings rules.
Okay.
And that's for good reason, because there are probably going to be some unpleasant things said. There's going to be some real down to, I don't know, promises made, whatever. Maybe it'd be good to know those, but nobody ever does know them. Nobody knows everything other than the people who are going to lead the Senate. They pretty much know just about everything that's going to go on. We got to talk about marijuana.
I don't want to talk about marijuana.
Why not?
I'm really upset over it still.
Well, this is people ask me about it. They ask me what it means, what I think the effect will be. So they spent, how much did they spend trying to legalize marijuana here? $1 million?
Oh, at least.
$2 million, something like that.
Because then George Soros
was wandered
like
in and he spent a lot of money.
Right.
And my take on the I think it was 5248. This is the commercialization of marijuana, by the way, not the legalization. It was already legal in the state of Alaska, but it was difficult to buy legally. So now they'll have commercial organizations that are out selling it. But my take on, they spent $2 million. Our side probably spent $30,000, and they get a 5248 result.
Which, by the way, they ran a really good campaign. The Big Marijuana, Big Mistake.
Yeah, with the money that they had.
I was really, really impressed with what they did.
This is what my take on it is politically. Unless you get a fairly broad majority of people who want something, it really doesn't have any legislative effect. In other words, it doesn't carry. It's important that the majority of Alaskans said, yes, we want to try this. If there's any problem with it at all, if the number of deaths on the road goes up, if the use amongst children go up, if the use amongst adults go up, if there's any problem with this stuff at all, basically legislators will say, well, we know 52% of you wanted this a little while ago, but here's the reality. Now, if those things don't happen, so basically what my take on it is, marijuana is on a short leash, right? They have been given a very brief period of time to be able to make their case that this isn't going to make life worse in Alaska.
But they have at least 2 years.
They've got 2 years, and if at that point life looks worse in Alaska, in any part of Alaska, in the bush, in cities, in schools, anywhere, because of marijuana's done. The law will be repealed, and we will go back to... Now, I am guessing, though, that Republicans are going to sort of, I don't know, they're going to become a little more allowing of marijuana, and that they will figure out how to let people who are on medical marijuana buy it legally, because I don't think there's any way to buy legal medical marijuana. You kind of have to grow it yourself.
Right. That's the argument that I've heard from a lot of people, is that, I'd say, well, medical marijuana is already legal. And their response was, but you can't really grow it and try, transporting it, that kind of thing.
Right. So and that would be my guess as to what will probably go on. I don't know.
I'm curious what numbers they'll start with, because, if alcohol is accepted and there's so many deaths or accidents or crimes per year based on that, are they going to allow a certain amount for that? Or, one time it's like, oh my gosh, we've got to stop it.
Well, yeah, I suppose if it's one time.
Yeah, like a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah, it probably is not going to be enough. My point is this, that legislators are not afraid of this vote. It's not going to change anybody's vote. Nobody's going to get elected or unelected, most likely because of this. So it's just a trial period. We're going to see how it goes. This is not Katie bar the door. The cows are out of the barn and they have full run of the place. Medical or marijuana, the commercialization of marijuana is on a very short leash. That's my take on it. Alaska law enforcement mulling ramifications of marijuana legalization. Lots to cover. That's a Alaska Dispatch article. Walker has edge, or maybe not. We'll cover that as well. Love to hear from you. 569-1080 KOAN KVNT. Stay tuned. As well. Love to hear from you. 569-1080 KOAN KVNT. Stay tuned.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel. Give him a call. 569-1080 KOAN.
Parking space 105A. To many, it's just 130 square feet of publicly allotted tarmac. Unless you own a 2014 Mercedes-Benz CLA. With its muscular, seductive look and distinctive diamond block grille, that parking space is transformed into a stage that showcases to others what groundbreaking style can be. And as you pull away, thanks to the turbocharged inline-4 engine, Parking Space 105A transforms again, this time into a launching pad See the world differently. See it in a CLA from Mercedes-Benz, whose vehicles retain their value better than any other premium brand, according to ALG. Get the 2014 CLA 254 Matic starting at just $31,900.
MSRP for a 2014 CLA 254 Matic excludes all options, taxes, title, registration, transportation charge, and dealer prep. Options while availability and actual dealer price may vary. Some equipment described as optional. See dealer for details.
Mercedes-Benz of Anchorage. The best or nothing.
Hi, my name is Mike Ferris, president of Alaska Enterprise Solutions. We are the face of Xerox in Alaska. Xerox is a trendsetter, and AES Xerox is following in those footsteps. We are the document management experts, specializing in short-term rentals of copiers and scanners. We have offices in Anchorage and Fairbanks, and we are your Xerox professional agency with an Alaska focus and worldwide support. You can reach us at aesalaska.com or 561-5100.
Hi, this is Brian Stan. I was a Marine Corps officer before becoming a UFC fighter. Military experience can add greatly to your life, as it has mine. The Air Force Reserve offers many part-time jobs in Alaska, which will allow you to continue your civilian career at the same time. You will receive excellent training, educational assistance, and many other benefits. Join an outstanding team in the Air Force Reserve. For more information on the Air Force Reserve, go to afreserve.com.
This message is sponsored by the Air Force Reserve and aired by the Alaska Broadcasters Association and this local station.
Hot Talk KOAN, man. You're on with Fagan and Biegel. 1080 KOAN.com.
6:47 a.m. KOAN KVNT 1080 here in Anchorage, 1020 out in the valley. Love to hear from you. 569-1080. What do you think the marijuana change will bring? You guys were just talking about walking through a Costco parking lot, and this doesn't have anything to say about Costco. It's probably any parking lot down in, is it Washington?
And my friend was talking about specifically in Bellingham, Washington, the Costco parking lot. Of course, it has, I mean, almost every license plate is British Columbia, you know, because Vancouver's right above Bellingham. And so all you have there is Canadians. But, you know, you go through the parking lot, and she said she, you know, when she was pregnant at the time, and you couldn't help but walk through smoke. And people say, oh, well,
through marijuana smoke.
Right, through marijuana smoke. And, you know, I've heard the yes side people saying, oh, well, that's just a fear tactic. No, it's not. It's reality. It's what they're living right now. Every main road has many dispensaries on it now, and it's everywhere you turn.
Well, legalizing, you know, fairly powerful drug obviously is going to have an effect on society. Many people were already users of it, so I guess we'll just have to find out how it plays out over time.
Well, what got me this I really did not think it would pass. I thought it was the only thing that was not going to pass. So that was a surprise for me. But what gets me is so many people saying, well, it's a liberty issue. Here in Alaska, we're all about freedom and liberty. But you know, you just when your bad choices though infringe on my liberty, that's when the liberty is not an issue anymore. I'm all about liberty. I love freedom. I love liberty. I don't love people infringing on it and infringing on my safety, which is what's going to happen, and it's going to really cost the public safety a lot of money to keep up with this issue.
Yeah, my view of society, because it says a lot about society, is we moved from a society that was really dedicated to families and young people. You know, in the 1980s, 1970s, you'd ask a parent, what do you want for your kids? I want them to have a better life than me. You know, what do you want out of life? Now you ask people what you want out of life. A lot of people will say, you know, I want to play poker. You know, I want a good retirement. So what about your kids? You know, because if you bring up the fact that back in the 70s, I think the cost of Social Security was somewhere around 3 or 4%. Now it's 12.25%. It could go up to 25% in order for parents currently to have the retirement out of Social Security that they want. So I don't really think that our society is basically changing from, it's very family and child directed before. Now it's more teenage, almost middle adult directed, and the gay marriage is a good example of that as well. Society doesn't care who you're sleeping with. What difference does that make? All we care about is whether or not you can raise your children to be decent human beings, because the rest of us have to deal with them if they're not. If they don't know how to control themselves, they don't know how to use good language. And you see, the language is another thing that's really dramatically declined. You go out into a public place, in all likelihood, you're going to hear the filthiest, most disgusting language you've ever encountered in your life. That you would have heard in a bar, in a dive.
Mm-hmm.
You'll hear it, in a restaurant or whatever.
Right, it's commonplace now.
Yeah, it's very commonplace. And if you try and stop it, by the way, you really freak people out. Because I've tried to stop it. Have you ever tried to stop somebody from using language in a public place?
I have. When my kids are around, we'll give people dirty looks, and part
You've
of that.
You've got a lot of those, by the way. You are full of dirty looks. Can you give Brian a really good dirty look right
but
now?
I'm really
Roll
good
your
at
eyes.
nice looks too.
She's usually smiley.
Yeah,
but no, I can shoot daggers with my eyes
A
at
disapproving
times.
glare.
Right.
Ooh.
But then, there's the freedom of speech and stuff. But I also, people say, I have the freedom of speech and I have the freedom to say whatever I want. Well, I have the freedom to tell you not to say whatever you want to.
No, you don't have the freedom to be vulgar.
My goal for the kids is to make them rich so they can take care of me.
There you go.
Rather than the other way around.
That really is my. I know that it's going to be harder for the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
You think about how much houses cost. My first house I got in Anchorage was $125,000.
Unheard of.
And then my next one was $265,000.
Whoa.
And, but at that point I think I had 5 or 6 kids. But I'd been in my career for probably a good 10, 11, 12 years.
Sure.
Pretty much prime earning capacity. I had an extra job already. I've always had extra jobs. But I know that it's going to be hard for kids today. Because you look at just their college. Colleges are 2, 3, 4 times as expensive as they used to be. Food is much more expensive in comparison. Housing is much more expensive. Of course, healthcare, ridiculously expensive. Their gas. I mean, we were paying $1.20, $1.40 a gallon
Triple that
gas.
now,
Yeah, and now they're paying $3.50, $3.60. They don't have any ability to modify that in their lives, So I know that it's going to be tough. So that's really my measure, is whether or not my kids are ready to succeed in a much more difficult world.
Maybe next time they'll double the minimum wage.
Hey, there you go.
And that'll solve it, right?
A lot of
There we
people
go.
smoking marijuana. Man, you got to pay me like $18 an hour.
We can
And I can
pay
smoke
extra
at the same
taxes.
time.
I can smoke whatever.
Pay extra taxes to supplement that.
Let me go to the phones. 569-1080. It is KOAN, KVNT, Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie Friday. Jim, welcome to KOAN.
Yes, how are you?
Good.
Every time they talk about the marijuana thing up here and everywhere, they always go to either economical tax benefits, and everyone, they breeze right by the fact that it's a harmful, the physical aspects of using that type of a
it's a drug.
Yeah. It's not a stimulant. I remember someone was talking about that it's going to, well, it's as if it's the same as alcohol, and it's 180 degrees around the opposite. It is not physically good for a human being, especially developing their brain, developing their personality, to use that type of a drug.
Well, it kills
the
cells. This is why, for people who are trying to figure out, is this good for you, is it bad for you? First of all, it's a drug. It's not a stimulant. It is not a depressant.
It's a psychotropic. It scatters your
Yes,
brain
it's
process.
a psychotropic drug. But what it does is it attaches itself, the THC attaches itself to active cells in your body and also to your neurotransmitters,
Right,
which is
that's
the
the problem.
psychotropic part of it.
Right. It goes up and down, and the transmitter will come up and go down. Well, then it's not where you train the brain to do certain things. Don't stick your hand on the hot stove. Well, that part of the brain is not functioning properly.
Yeah.
Is that you're training it wrong, improperly, or not at all?
You're rewiring it.
Yes, and that's quickly, very quickly.
Yeah.
And you take a young person who hasn't even adapted or hasn't trained himself to do the right thing,
Or where their brain is still developing. That's
Right.
really, Jim, the part I think that they found the most difficulty with, is if you are a heavy user when you're young, it does affect.
you don't have to be a heavy user, because I think proof's in the pudding.
Yeah.
But what we have is the attitude and approach to life as people who went to Hollywood, and theirs not correct. They have a problem. It's like a comedian. I mean, I like comedians, but they have a problem. They need the attention. They need to be people laughing and happy.
It's not real life.
Yes, it's not anywhere near it. And now half of at least the United States, is acting like people in California. Yeah. California's the proof in the pudding.
Well, that's very interesting.
Broke.
Yeah, that people just don't have. They don't act like normal people. I appreciate the call, Jim.
Yeah,
Thanks so much. Let me go to Alex. Alex, welcome to Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie. Nice to have you on.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
So,
this is Alex Gamark, by the way. Is that okay? Did I say your last name?
You
Too
bet.
late. Anyway.
You just did.
You bet.
Anyway, I so love to Interesting Items is Alex's publication, and it is just a fantastic roundup of what happened as read by a conservative. A recap of the week, basically, and I highly suggest people go out, Google Interesting Items, and get on his email list.
Well, thank you very kindly.
Sure.
I ended up, I was kind of torn. I ended up voting for the marijuana initiative.
Okay.
But I did it for a couple different reasons. First reason is, if for nothing else, to put a sharp stick in the eye of Uncle Sugar.
Uncle Sugar?
Uncle Sugar, the feds.
You want the state to be able to determine its own. That's a very strange approach, by the way, Alex.
Well, that's all right. I'm a strange kind of guy. The second reason is I am increasingly concerned about the militarization of law enforcement. Military tools, military techniques, military training, and the erosion of property rights under the war of drugs over the last half century. I'm about of the opinion that the cure is now worse than the disease.
Well, federally, by the way, people may not know this, but statewide in the state, there are not many people who are in jail for marijuana. But federally, many tens of thousands are actually in jail. And a lot of that's for trafficking.
The IRS has in recent years been seizing the bank accounts and property of small businesses. There's a technique that money launderers use to keep deposits below $10,000 so they don't have to go through federal reporting requirements.
Is that why we keep getting restrictions on how much money we can send or transfer or do all that kind of stuff? Because it's getting a little ridiculous.
That is related, but it's related in that the feds...
Alex, I hate to do this, but I want to hold you over because I got a question for you about marijuana when we come back, if that's okay?
I don't know anything about pot, but I'll hold over.
Okay, well, I just want your thoughts on it because there are some things that we need to discuss on that. I appreciate it. Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie.
Well, except maybe free buffalo wings from Sicily's. Call 333-8000 right now and ask for free buffalo wings. Buy any extra large 2-topping pizza at regular price and get 10 free buffalo wings. It's fast, easy, and affordable. Enjoy hot, fresh pizza and Italian food. Call 333-8000 or order online at SicilysPizza.com. Best ingredients, best pizza, Sicily's.
Just call Sicily's Pizza. 333-8000.
You're listening to Hot Talk, KOAN, Anchorage, AM 1080, and retranslated on 95.1 FM on K236CG, Anchorage.
Fox News Radio. I'm Dave Anthony. Now that voters gave them control of the House and Senate in the next Congress, Republicans hope President Obama
moves in a direction that will allow us to actually get some things done for the country.
And GOP Senator John Thune getting ready to have lunch with the president at the White House, where Fox News Radio's Jared Halpern's live.
A day of agenda setting here. President Obama meeting with his cabinet now, a few days after Democrats suffered many election losses. The president expected to move ahead on priorities that include executive action on immigration, something Republican leaders describe as poisoning the well. And House Speaker John Boehner has said a Republican-controlled Congress will vote on repealing the Affordable Care Act. He'll be here next hour for a bipartisan bicameral lunch with President Obama and more than a dozen congressional leaders. Dave.
Jared, a Russian man the U.S. military captured in Afghanistan has just pleaded not guilty to terror charges in D.C.
Eric Ilgiz Hamdulin is specifically charged with the 2009 attack on a forward operating base in Afghanistan. Fox News is told the case of the 55-year-old Hamdulin is a test run for whether detainees held in Afghanistan can be successfully tried in federal courts, because the White House is unwilling to send new detainees to Guantanamo for military commission trials.
Fox's Catherine Herridge. More Americans are working new jobs hired last month when unemployment dropped again. Fox News Radio's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Dave, the economy picked up 214,000 jobs in October, the 9th month in a row of more than 200,000 jobs created, as the jobless rate declined to 5.8%, a 6-year low. There were gains in manufacturing, leisure and hospitality, and education and health. The White House says the report shows the economy is on pace for its best year of job growth since the late 90s. Dave.
Rachel, on Wall Street, the Dow's down about 20 points. The World Health Organization's released a 17-page manual detailing how to safely bury people who've died of Ebola. An Ebola expert says at least 1 in 5 infections in the African outbreak have occurred during burials. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Attention homeowners, I'm Jay Farner, president of Quicken Loans, and I have some important information for you regarding the U.S. government's Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP. We've told you about HARP in the past, and more than 3 million homeowners have already taken advantage of this program. But there are so many more of you who could be saving hundreds of dollars every month on your mortgage. And Quicken Loans is here to help you save your money. The home loan experts at Quicken Loans fully understand the HARP guidelines. If you weren't HARP eligible in the past, new guidelines could mean that now you are. Give us a call and we'll give you a Quicken Loans mortgage review. It's simple and easy. And for 4 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Call 800-QUICKEN. That's 800-QUICKEN. Or go to QuickenLoans.com for a mortgage experience that's engineered to amaze.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Payment example excludes taxes and insurance costs. For cost information, equal housing lender license in all 50 states. NMLS number 3330.
Well, howdy, I'm Nick Worthington. Ford Giant Worthington Ford.
Home of over 1,000 vehicles and 700 4x4s. That's why we're 4x4 headquarters.
Right now, pick any vehicle on the lot, and you can make no payments until next year. Take a look.
Check out these 4x4s. A Chevy Trailblazer, just $59.50, and a Ford Explorer for $99.50.
Here's a Ford Expedition, just $10,900. And here's a Chevy 1500, just $12,900.
And with over 1,000 vehicles to choose from, you're sure to find one that's just right for you. Plus, no payments until next year.
And we can finance anyone we want to. We have our own finance company.
And don't forget your trade-in. We need your trade-in.
So push, pull, or drag it in, and you'll get top dollar. Now's the time. Head into Giant Worthington Ford on Gamble.
07 Explorer Q1111, 07 1500 SQ1995A, 06 Trailblazer Q1336A, 08 Expedition Q1688. On approved credit, subject to prior sales. See dealer for details. Ends 11/13/2014.
This is Dr. Ellenberg. Are you tired of taking medications? Do your medications create more side effects than solutions? Do you want more than 15 minutes with your doctor? If you answer yes to those questions, you should consider calling the Ellenberg Center for Natural Medicine. At our center, we take the time to listen and focus on finding the cause of your health problems. Whether you have a cold, high blood pressure, diabetes, or cancer, we can help. Call the Ellenberg Center for Natural Medicine at 563-2366 or visit us online at drellenberg.com. We can help.
All my life, I've enjoyed hunting and fishing, but as I got older, it made it harder to enjoy the Alaskan outdoors. Thanks to Chugash Chiropractic, I'm back on the stream enjoying Alaska.
Besides aligning the spine, we also deal with the musculature and the nervous system of the body. To do that, we not only adjust the spine, but we also balance muscles along with various therapies and deep tissue therapy. We help bring the body back to normal function.
Do you remember that Beatles song? If the rain comes, they'll run and hide their heads. You know which one I'm talking about. Well, if that's you, and you're inside your home or office, it's time to call Earhart Roofing. Call Earhart Roofing for all your roofing needs. Flat or pitched, large or small, Earhart Roofing will do the job quickly, and they'll do it right. Earhart Roofing, big enough to serve you and still small enough to care. Call 345-5555. That's 345-5555.
Glen Biegel, you have beautiful teeth.
Why, thank you, Dan Fagan. That's because my family and I have gone to Dr. Dan Kiley for years.
I get scared at the dentist.
Dr. Kiley knows people like you are afraid, so he creates a relaxed atmosphere at his office. People actually like going to the dentist for Dr. Kiley.
I know it's important to have good dental health.
And you look better with good teeth. And Dr. Kiley offers cosmetic dentistry along with general care.
Visit Dr. Dan Kiley at lakeotisdental.com. Call him at 562-9209.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel on Hot Talk KOAN and online at 1080KOAN.com.
7:06 a.m. Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie here on KOAN, KVNT. I hope you are picking us up however you can. We stream live. We have and that's both video and audio. We're on 4 different signals, 2 out in the valley, 2 here in town. And I don't know, I guess we could do smoke signals if you wanted to. We'll figure out some way to get you the information. I'd love to hear from you. 569-1080 explosive storm headed for Aleutians and the Bering Strait. So we'll have to watch that one. They don't get a lot of hurricanes, but they do still get some difficulty in storms, and it ends up being quite a mess because it picks up the water, moves it inland, and then as it falls, it becomes frozen again. So there's ice that just coats everything. It's a real mess. It's a total disastrous kind of situation.
Like Deadliest Catch.
Yeah. It's just what you see there, but yet it's on land. Anyway, we'll have to hope for the best and keep an eye on that. We go back to Alex. I had a couple of questions for him. Morning, Alex.
Morning, sir.
My question is this: you gave a couple of reasons why you voted for the marijuana initiative. One was that you didn't really like you thought this was a state issue, should be governed by the state, and the other one was you're worried about the militarization of the police.
That plus the use of property forfeiture and the attack on property rights.
Which, look, I think there's a certain percentage of people who totally get what you're saying. The only question I had for you was this: it doesn't sound like you think marijuana is that big of a deal. It's kind of
I think it's probably as big a deal as alcohol. It's probably as big a deal as tobacco. Once you get to the age of majority, maybe it's time. Maybe we don't need mama, big government telling us what to do and how to do it.
Yeah, and you know, I have adopted here a somewhat similar view that you have, that this doesn't immediately make you into a zombie like, you know, heroin or crack or things like that. But I guess I took a little stronger of an approach for legalizing something that I want children to know that there's a line around. And that's sort of my approach, because I look out at the bush, and they already have a big problem with alcohol out there for young people. I know they probably have a big problem with marijuana, but I'm worried that it's going to get worse, and that this gives people who really don't have a lot of direction and don't have a lot of structure around them a little harder time.
You get jobs out there, and folks won't go into the controlled substances to find their way in the world.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bob Gillen, for killing the Pebble Mine.
It's just so aggravating to watch a billionaire ruin the lives of a bunch of people who the best year that they'll ever probably have now is making 15 or 20 grand.
The second to last mailer those clowns sent out accused Pebble of wanting to kill 14,000 jobs, which is the commercial fishing industry they claim in that part of the state.
Mm-hmm.
That number is right about the yearly employment that Pebble would have had after about year 5.
Isn't that amazing? So they literally kill jobs for this fear that we can't do mining and fishing at the same time.
And the only people in this state that I know of who have consistently killed salmon have been the commercial fishing boys.
Yeah, they're bycatch.
Well, no, they fish everything until the runs are gone.
Mm.
That's why we don't have runs into the Yukon anymore.
Do you think Walker's going to help this, by the way? Is he the answer?
No.
No. What is going to be the answer? Will he stand up to commercial fishing interests here in the state of Alaska, or is this more federal? Is this up to Dan Sullivan?
No, the commercial fishing guys. You ever heard the phrase regulatory capture?
No.
Regulatory capture happens when an industry that is being regulated ends up through political means capturing and controlling those that regulate it. It's called, so they are. It's kind of like the unions being in charge.
Okay, that's what came to mind. Yeah, the unions here in town basically hiring their bosses, and then they get to control scheduling and equipment. Then they get $250,000 salaries. All right, so yeah, I kind of get what you're going.
Comfish is essentially in charge of the Board of Fish process.
Mm-hmm. They have 8 out of 9 or something are essentially representative from commercial fishing.
They are completely in charge of the federal fishing regulatory process. And
well, what should we watch as we go forward? We got a new governor who I think that he probably represents.
We may or may not have a new governor.
That's possible too. I saw a Neighbors piece came out today, and so we may or may not. But let's just take is Walker going to have a different approach to this, or it seems like everybody ends up with the same approach, which is not your and mine.
I'm afraid he's going to put Craig Fleener in charge. And
now, you don't like Craig Fleener? I thought he was pretty good.
I am concerned that we're going to go back to the Tony Knowles days of playing the natives against the non-natives.
Well, no, I think that not only are we going to do that, but the feds have already basically taken over most of the fishing control here in the state of Alaska. So I think that's we're probably going to have to.
That's very worrisome, by the way.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons you elect a new Congress.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, Alex.
Later, sir.
569-1080, 569-1080-712 AM. And we're talking about marijuana. We are walking through the changes in the legislature. There are now a supermajority. 27 is a magic number for the House. 15 is a magic number for the Senate. And they now have 15 on the Republican majority. Lyman Hoffman, who's a Democrat. Basically, there's no Republicans in Bush, Alaska. There's no Republican Party. There's no Republican infrastructure. There just aren't any Republicans. So if you run for office, just like if you run for office down in Kodiak, you run as a Republican, whether you're a Democrat or not. So it's a very similar situation. And Lyman Hoffman has switched over from Democrat and joined the Republican majority, giving them 15-5. And
so doesn't this marijuana law, can't individual cities decide if they want to have it or not?
They can. I was just reading this, Alaska law enforcement mulling ramifications of marijuana legalization, and I think there's one other story about this. You'll notice, by the way, we haven't had a lot of stories, as Dan points out, about the National Guard.
Yeah, that's very curious. All of a sudden, we're not hearing any news about it.
Yeah, we were hearing 2 or 3 a day before the election, and apparently it just.
So has it all been resolved?
I think it's all been resolved.
In their eyes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was kind of wondering if Anchorage could have a vote and then decide not to have marijuana.
Well, what we can restrict are dispensaries.
Well, that'd be a start, because if you look at the map of who voted on it, Anchorage isn't on there.
Okay. Yeah, and it's in all likelihood we probably will restrict marijuana dispensaries. We don't want to, Starbucks, McDonald's, marijuana.
Yeah.
You're listening to Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie, 714 AM, 569-1080. And 1080.
Fagan and Biegel on Hot Talk KOAN and online at 1080KOAN.com.
Join Anchorage Downtown Partnership and other businesses along G Street for the first annual Bunny Boots and Burn Barrels G Street Block Party on November 7th from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Bunny Boots and Burn Barrels is an opportunity for businesses along G Street to throw a true Anchorage meets Oktoberfest block party between 4th and 5th Avenue on a first Friday. The evening will feature beats by DJ Spencer Lee, a beer garden courtesy of Darwin's Theory, food from Uncle Joe's Pizzeria, and other tasty food trucks, deals and specials from G Street businesses, and so much more. It will be the block party of the ages. Since it's first Friday, you can join us to start your evening or end your rounds at G Street between 4th and 5th Avenue until 9 p.m. So put on your warmest boots and come enjoy a truly northern experience with your fellow Alaskan snow bunnies while grabbing a beer and some grub on November 7th at G Street. Brought to you by Anchorage Downtown Partnership, Darwin's Theories, Criterion General, Cabin Fever, Uncle Joe's Pizzeria, KPP Architects, and Alaska Integrated Media.
Trail Boss Solutions is your local award-winning, nationally recognized construction and remodel firm. From handyman services to kitchen design and remodel to custom home construction, Trail Boss Solutions has the experienced professionals to take your project from initial design through completion, on time and on budget. Trail Boss Solutions is the only call for all your construction, design, and remodel needs. Please visit us on the web at trailboss-solutions.com or contact Trail Boss Solutions Direct at 646-1403.
Can a fuel make a straightaway take your breath away? Can it make a hill give you chills? Can it turn every acceleration into your exhilaration? It can if it's Shell V-Power Premium Gasoline. It removes an average of 60% of performance-robbing gunk on intake valves left by low-quality premium gasolines. And it starts with your very first tank. Choose Shell V-Power and let the excitement begin.
And learn how you can save big at the pump at fuelrewards.com.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel in the morning. Give him a call, 569-1080. KOAN.
7:17 a.m. It's Friday, and it's the Friday after the election. Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie. Bonnie Cameron in the studio with me. Fagan is out today. And we're going to have the two greatest political forces, commentators in the state with us here in just a little while. Matt Larkin and Amanda Coyne.
That should be fun.
I think so.
I really love reading Amanda's stuff. She's a great writer.
Yeah. And we know that Matt Larkin is really the only trusted source for the numbers. We didn't hear his numbers, so we figured that it wasn't good for conservatives. Even though, look, the House and the Senate are going to turn out just fine. The governorship, if you think that this win is some kind of an indication that the state of Alaska is magically morphing into a left-wing state, that's just not true.
Well, it is.
We're not. Now, you don't like minimum wage.
When you vote for marijuana minimum
barely.
wage, you vote against mining, and you vote against, and you're voting for with all the unions. And
here's what I realize it's hard for conservatives to accept. Minimum wage is something we've lost on. People don't understand what we're talking about.
Well, maybe that's because we have leaders who
we've got schools that don't educate people.
Yeah, but then Sean Parnell and Dan Sullivan come out against it or for it
they
when they
know
could
the reality
have come out
of
against it.
Did you? Let me ask you this question. This is a good test, and Tea Party people, if you will perk your ears up for just a moment, if they had come out against the minimum wage and lost their races, Parnell may still lose. But if that was the result, would that have made you happy?
I think that it would have made them stronger, and I think it would have made conservatism stronger, and that's what I would hope for the conservative leaders. I don't think they would have lost. I think that would have gained them more votes.
No, it wouldn't have gained many votes.
They have a platform that they could have said, you know what, government shouldn't be telling businesses how much to pay their employees. That was their platform. They could have stayed staunch on that.
Yeah, well, the difficulty is it was obviously a 70-30 vote.
Well, maybe I don't think it was that much.
Yeah.
Was it?
It was, or 66-33, something like that. You know, it was pretty dramatic.
Well, the point is that maybe
close.
People say, "Oh, well, our leaders are for it, so maybe we should be too. Maybe it's not so bad."
No, I don't really think. Look, if they had not buckled on it, then that is what the Alaska Dispatch would have run, because what the Alaska Dispatch is looking for is any significant difference between the electorate and Dan Sullivan, and they're going to highlight that. And so they would have constantly asked him, well, why do you hate poor people? Why do you want people to starve to death? Why do you want people who are working not to be able to afford a home or be able to afford an apartment?
Wouldn't that have been a good opportunity for him to say, well, because of this, 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 and this, and this?
It would have been a good opportunity, and he would have lost the election. And the reason is because people are miseducated. It's not Dan Sullivan's fault that people are miseducated.
I just wish more leaders would use that opportunity to educate people.
It's an opportunity to lose an election, not to educate people. We don't look to our political people to educate us.
Then who?
Our education system, our parents.
We can't rely on the education system. If anything, we've lost that.
That's really the problem. No, I totally agree. We have totally lost the education system. People are not able to think for themselves, which is my primary goal, to allow for educational opportunities and choice to come in and try and make a difference there. But that's the reality of the situation, is when people don't know what you're talking about and it requires more than a couple of sentences to explain it, it's just not the arena of politics. And I know that a lot of conservatives are just absolutely maddened by that fact. In the end, we have much bigger things to fight about. This is going to make it harder for kids to get a job. It is going to make it much easier for businesses to automate so that they don't have to provide jobs. It isn't going to end up making that big of a difference because not that many people are on the minimum wage. Most people were going to make the higher wage anyway.
Well, I thought it was interesting. I had a friend on Facebook, and they own a small screen printing business, or they have I think he's a graphic artist or something.
Yeah.
And she said, well, if our business grows to the point one of these days where we can afford a printer, we might need somebody who can get the T-shirts off of the printer and fold them and put them in boxes. And now we're going to have to pay them $8.75 and then $9.75 to do a mindless task. That is going to make it to where they cannot grow their business now.
That's right. Yeah.
So thanks, people.
Yeah. Well, and the great thing is, it's up to you and I. We're the educators, for this, and we'll highlight the times when it makes small business and makes economic growth. And really, the most critical thing to me, the most critical thing in a person's life is their first job. If you don't get the first job, you just don't understand that I'm going to trade my time. Throughout my whole life, this is my job. I'm going to trade my time for somebody else to give me money. And if I don't have good skills, then I'll trade my time for a little bit of money, and I will not have a very good life. If I have great skills, then I'll trade my time for a large amount of money, and I'll have a great life. That's basically...
Right.
That's what people get.
It's so comical to me because my son's, almost 14.
Yeah.
And he's looking at his first job and that he's going to be getting paid
$8.75, $9.75.
It's laughable is what it is.
That is right. It is laughable.
His skills at home are not that good. I'm not sure I want him working somewhere where he's going to be getting paid for it.
That's right. Yeah. I worked at Taco Bell was my first employment, and the idea that they would have paid me $9.75 an hour to work at Taco Bell is crazy. Obviously, it has to translate into a much more expensive taco.
Well, so here's what I'm thinking about doing. I'm thinking about taking $4 of his pay per hour because all my costs are going to increase because of minimum wage.
Oh, there you go.
So to take care of him is going to cost more. So I'm just going to take $4 right off the top, and he'll learn about government that way.
You're going to be like the tax man.
Yes. Here I come.
Yeah. That's
work hard,
a great
honey.
approach.
Not for very much, though.
Rent.
Time to start paying rent. Matt Larkin, Amanda Coyne be with us in just a little bit of time. The Alaska Mining Conference just happened, and they're talking about Pebble and Mount Poly, of course, with the last of the initiatives that were on the ballot measure 4,
which we did not talk about very much.
No, we didn't. I don't know that it's easy to explain to people that you go through a regulatory process and then at the end you go through a political process.
I mean, vote yes for fish is all you pretty much saw.
It's like this. Let's say you wanted to build a house, so you go to the city and you get all your permits, and you get all your people lined up, you have your money, and you're ready to go, and then you go to the assembly, and you have to argue in front of the assembly whether or not you should be able to build your house. Now, that may be an easy thing if you have an assembly that is favorable to you, but what if we're in the midst of, people may not remember this, back in Anchorage at the end of the 90s, and Vegas was a big part of this in the early 2000s, Alaska conservation voters had 9 out of the assembly races in Anchorage were controlled by the Alaska conservation voters, a far-left environmental organization, essentially a wing of the major wing of the Democrat Party at the time. Now, how comfortable would you, if you were conservative and well-known, or spoke out at all, or were right next to somebody who was a liberal and they didn't want you to produce their property and they could go talk to the assembly members, how comfortable would you be in buying that property, in deciding to put aside money, in going forward with tens of thousands of dollars potentially in the cost of getting your area platted and making sure that you have all the permits and everything else? And then, at the end of all of that, you get approved, you go through the normal process, you got to go to a legislature and ask them.
Wow.
If you didn't know that you were going to get approved, would you go through the process?
No, absolutely not.
Well, it'd be a complete, absolute, insane risk.
I mean, all this says is stay out of Alaska.
Stay out of Alaska.
We don't want you.
Yeah. At some point, by the way, Western Alaska, I'm sorry to say this, the money will stop. The feds are not, at some point, China and Russia, they're making arrangements over there, having more and more trade in rubles and in yuan, and eventually they'll decide that they don't need the American dollar, and that they don't need to transfer the wealth from their citizens over to American citizens, so they have to live less and we can live more. I don't know why they're doing it now. Their economy is growing dramatically. So that maybe that's why. Maybe they're just biding their time. China, by the way, just surpassed the United States in the size of their economy. So maybe they've been biding their time. Maybe they're waiting for things to get a little more structured over there so that they can project strength as we do.
So is this another law that can be overturned in 2 years?
Yeah.
Or?
No, this will be a law that can be overturned.
And would Walker do that?
No, Walker won't. He ended up flipping. He was for Pebble Mine, for a public process. And that's really what we're arguing here about. The EPA said, we're not even going to have a public process for your mine. We don't want to know what you're going to do. Like, well, how is that America? Here we have a state of Alaska. We're supposed to be sovereign. We have state lands. It was dedicated for mining. We argued that that would be the case, and then the EPA comes in and says, we don't want to know what you're going to do. We're telling you no.
Well, maybe if Walker flip-flopped so easily the first time, he can flip-flop back again.
Maybe. If things get hard out in Bush, Alaska, and they're already hard around Lake Iliamna.
By the way, I did listen to most of the Mark Begich interview, and I loved it when Lisa Deemer called in.
Wasn't she fantastic?
And it was amazing.
Yeah.
She really, really gave him a what for, and he had nothing to say back to it.
Oh, I've talked to people,
she had
just
some
not
great
you.
Points. Yes.
Oh, you came to see me, but I was
You
I
flew
was
all
busy
the way
that
from
day.
Alaska to see me, and I didn't see you. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, she was a fantastic caller, and she really made up for my errors. You realize you can't beat Mark Begich in a debate.
Well, all he came back with was, "Are you kidding me? Are you serious?" That's when you could tell when he was cornered.
Yeah.
It was good. I enjoyed it.
I did too, and after the fact, because I wasn't going to let him go. I mean, the critical part to bring out is how dishonest he is over time. As you go back, look at things up, find out he made exactly the argument you made, and then just told you that you were crazy.
Right.
It's so disingenuous. It's amazing. Amanda Coyne, Matt Larkin will be with us. You're listening to Fagan, Biegel and Bonnie, KOAN, KVNT 569 1080. If you have questions for the prognosticator and the best journalist in the state, stay tuned.
214,000 jobs in October, but that fell short of the estimate for 231,000. The Labor Department also says that 31,000 more jobs were added in both August and September than it had previously estimated. The unemployment rate dropped to 5.8%, a 6-year low. The data suggests solid economic growth in the months ahead as the Federal Reserve weighs when to start raising interest rates. Well, stocks are pulling back from record levels as investors locked in profits following the jobs report. Walt Disney Company is weighing on the Dow. The entertainment giant's latest earnings basically met estimates, although its cable networks were weaker. Shares of Humana are also trading sharply lower after the health insurer reported disappointing third-quarter results. Humana also tightened its guidance for 2014, but says it expects growth next year. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Lauren Simonetti.
Going to war was their duty. Telling their story is yours. This Veterans Day, Ancestry would like to help you honor the soldiers in your family with free access to our global military records. Visit tryancestry.com November 6th through Veterans Day. Find valuable clues such as rank, awards, battle details, photographs, and more. Discover what Veterans Day means to your family for a limited time when you visit tryancestry.com. Tryancestry.com. That's TRY Ancestry.com.
With KOAN News, I'm Chuck White. Alaska voters have re-elected a Judge William Estelle, who reportedly was suspended without pay earlier this year for allegedly submitting incorrect pay statements. As Ann Kenda reports, one of the best-known figures from the marijuana debate is celebrating.
Charlo Green became an instant sensation on Facebook when she quit her job as a KTVA reporter during a story on marijuana. With Bleep It, I Quit, leaving a shocked anchor scrambling to apologize to the live TV audience. Green went on to work full-time advocating for passage of the marijuana question. After the victory, she posted a video on Facebook saying, "Honestly, I don't even know what to say right now, except that we made history."
Finally, fans of the hip-hop artist Snoop Dogg waiting to find out whether he'll keep a promise to stage a concert in Alaska if voters pass the ballot measure to make marijuana legal, which they did. That's your Hot Talk News update.
Today, partial sunshine, high 35. For tonight, mostly cloudy skies with snow and little to no accumulation is expected, low 25. Partly sunny with a rain or snow shower in spots for Saturday, high 38. Tomorrow night, low 28. Sunday, snow and rain with little to no accumulation, high 43. Hot Talk, breaking news, and the latest weather, KOAN 95.1 FM and 1080 AM.
I hereby officially proclaim this as Crab Week at Noosagayan City Market. In celebration, Noosagayan City Market want to arrange dive exhibitions by the famous loincloth-clad crab divers, and, of course, the crowning of Miss Crab Legs. Or maybe not. Anyway, most important, of course, are the excellent prices. Just $17.99 a pound for the giant Golden King crab clusters. Legs and claws only, just the parts you like best, $17.99 a pound. But the pièce de résistance will be live, sweet, and juicy Dungeness crab. Fresh from the seawater tanks at Noosagayan City Market, just $9.99 a pound. And, of course, your friendly seafood monger will be happy to cook them for you, no extra charge. Free-range fryers are special this week from the butcher shops in Noosagayan City Market. Yes, free range, and a bargain price of just $2.19 a pound. And fresh from the produce department, the first of the season jumbo navel oranges are special, just $1.99 a pound. Bring the gunny sack and fill her up. Noosagayan Midtown City Market, 13th and I.
Local news, weather, and the Dan Fagan Glen Biegel Show on Hot Talk. KOAN. Brought to you by Connect Country Liquor, with 4 convenient locations in the Valley and Talkeetna. Convenient locations in the Valley.
When I grow up, I want to be a pro basketball player.
An elementary school teacher.
No matter what dream you choose or where you are in life, Country Financial helps you and your family grow your own way.
Or maybe a veterinarian.
A mom, a doctor, and president of the United States. Maybe an astronaut or, an Olympic gymnast.
You can grow your own way. We know some dreams take a little longer to achieve, which is why your local Country Financial representative offers helpful advice on everything. From auto and home insurance to financial planning, education to retirement, and business insurance too, so that you can continue to grow and dream.
Or maybe an accountant, like my dad.
For more information, visit countryfinancial.com or call 1-866-COUNTRY. Country Financial. Grow your own way.
Here's my good friend, Keith Monternock.
Automotive repairs can be frustrating. Let me help. Call 349-1637. I have been in business for nearly 20 years at the same location. Specialty Truck and Auto is in South Anchorage behind the Long Branch Saloon where Diamond becomes Abbott. I have 6 ASE certified technicians working from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. I have a voucher for any of the 6 Alaska Laser Wash locations for each customer. If you schedule ahead and need a ride when you drop your vehicle off, I may be able to help. Call Specialty Truck and Auto, 349-1637.
Hot Talk KOAN, man. You're on with Fagan and Biegel. 1080KOAN.com.
$7:35. It is Friday. It's 3 days after the election and 4 days before we actually know how some of the races will turn out. So we're still sort of in the midst of political upheaval nationwide, and it's a very exciting time to watch politics as a student of politics and as somebody who participates regularly. In studio with me, we've got Matt Larkin. He is the head of Dittman Research and just the quality, the highest quality person, the most accurate that we have ever seen in the state of Alaska. So thank you so much for coming in.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And you're listening to Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie. Fagan's out today. Bonnie is in studio. And we do have a lot to talk about. Where are we in the election process?
Well, we are obviously over, right?
Pull that toward you.
Okay.
And talk right into it like that. There you go.
Yeah, I've done this show before. I think I know what I'm doing with the microphone.
All right, very good.
So obviously we're over, right? So I mean that's the obvious thing to point out. But I would just say that I think a lot of Alaskans are glad that we're over.
Oh.
Right? It was the most expensive campaign we've ever seen. Everyone was bombarded with mail, with telephone calls, with television ads, radio ads. So I think we're over with that phase, and now we're in the phase where the division of elections is counting the absentees. We got a couple of races that are pretty close, so we'll have to see how that turns out. And we're also in the phase where alliances are starting to form, caucuses are starting to form at the state level, and so everyone is waiting and watching to see how that's going to play out.
We've got ballot initiatives to talk about as well. It sounds like the Republicans did very well in the legislature, and in a very confusing race for governor, Walker, who is a Republican or has always been, I think he changed to independent on the spot. He sort of acted like a conservative as well, for the most part. So in some ways, you can almost say, well, it was one conservative running against somebody who tried to make the case he might have been more conservative.
Yep, no question. Walker would have gotten support from conservatives, from some Republicans. I think that was the idea.
Did Begich putting his arm around the ticket help? I mean, was that meant to help Walker or help Begich?
I think if Begich put his arm around him, it was probably meant to help Begich. But,
okay. That's interesting. Has Begich always known that this was going to be a tough race for him?
Oh yeah, I definitely think that they knew that. I mean, the reality is, we look at elections and we say, well, what happened and what is this a mandate? Was it Obamacare and was it, the president's policies? And of course, all of those things do played into this election. But what I like to remind people is that if you just look at the numbers in Alaska, it is very difficult for a Democrat to win statewide office. The last time it happened was Mark Begich, obviously, and we all know what happened there right before the election with Senator Stevens.
5 felony counts were returned, and
yeah, 8 days
convicted.
before 8 days before the election. So if you set aside that example and you say, well, when's the last time it happened? You got to go back to 1998, and that was Governor Knowles defeating Lindauer, I believe.
Total disaster. This is the circular firing squad that Republicans routinely find themselves in, and a lot of conservative organizations, were trying to organize candidates once again and voters once again in a circular firing squad, and the voters decided that they wouldn't do that.
Right, and again, if you look, Yeah, I think you're exactly right there. But if you look back in '98, Knowles won 51% of the vote. So even then, it wasn't a large win.
And that there was a question there as whether or not there were felonies that were being committed on the Lindauer side.
Crazy stuff going. And since that time, if you look at the registration on the voter file in Alaska, Republicans have grown by 23%. Democrats have declined by 5% in terms of registration and actual numbers. So it's just a math problem. It's difficult for a Democrat candidate to win statewide office. So as we're looking at this result this time around and saying, what was it? Was it, Obamacare that did this? If it wasn't Obamacare, would have Begich have pulled it out? Again, I just start with the premise that it is very difficult. So when I look at the numbers that Begich put up, I actually say to myself, we got to give credit where credit is due. He ran a nearly mistake-free campaign from the standpoint of campaign mechanics. He did have the one television ad that he had to pull down, which you never want to have that happen, and that was a pretty public mistake. But other than that, you look at the ground game. We're looking at the numbers coming out of rural Alaska. They have overrepresented this time. When we do polling, we look at past representation. There are more votes coming out of rural Alaska than we've seen before.
I want to talk to you a lot more about that, by the way, because this to me is the greatest tragedy and travesty in Alaskan politics, and that is there are a lot of Alaskans who do not consider themselves either Alaskan or they do not like conservatives, and I don't know what it is that they're looking for from the Democrats, but I do get a sense that Begich knows how to push their buttons, and he has pushed all of them, and he continues to push them, and I'm not comfortable with a 47 or 48 or 49, 44 split in the state of Alaska. And so I really want to find out whether or not Republicans could adopt one or two policies, because liberty in the end is at stake, I believe, for the whole country. But I want to find out more from you. We're talking here with Matt Larkin, head of Dittman Research. Love to hear from you as well. 569-1080, 569-1080. You're listening to KON KVNT. And Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie, the initiatives. The Republicans and conservatism is morphing. It's morphing somewhat before our eyes. The marijuana initiative is probably an outgrowth of that change. We were talking off air, and I think we highlighted basically what some of this was, some of what the new conservatism is, and that is indifference toward the effects of our vote.
Yeah, and I think too, when you look at ballot measures, the tendency people have, because nobody really reads them, and the thing with a ballot measure is, it's not the legislative process, right? Where an issue gets debated, a bill is put forward, everybody gets their input into it and says, this piece of this is really problematic. Why don't we fix that? And so, essentially,
goes through committee after committee. They figure out how much it's going to cost.
You get all that put together, and in the end, something that passes, it's passed because there's enough support for it, in the legislature. So ballot initiatives aren't like that, right? I mean, the law is written as it is, and it's
in a back room.
And it's an up or down vote, and you're stuck with exactly what it says.
Yeah. And the public does not know really anything about it.
They don't. So what happens is, and I think you saw this on marijuana. I think we saw this in August on the primary on oil taxes. I think you saw this on the Bristol Bay Initiative. People just revert to their general sense of an issue, and that's where they base their vote. So if in August they think the oil industry is bad, they're not really looking at the tax scheme and all that. They just revert
whatever
to
the latest news story might be.
The oil industry. Okay, this time around, if you are a supporter of pot, and in most cases, I think just indifferent to it, you're more likely to support it. But you didn't actually look at what this would do. And same with the Pebble Mine, right? If you think the Pebble Mines are bad, and that's how you voted instead of. So that's what happens with ballot.
And I'll say it again: it's tyranny of the masses.
Billionaires win, and the poor people of Western Alaska will suffer. We will continue to talk about this. 7:44 a.m. It is Friday. Congratulations, folks. You're listening to Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie on KOAN, KVNT 569, 1080. Stay tuned. And KVNT 569, 1080. Stay tuned.
Don't Don't just sit there. Give them a call. 569-1080. Join the conversation. KOAN.
The traffic jam. A stifling halt to your thrilling drive. But in a redesigned 2015 Mercedes-Benz C-Class, that interruption is at least tolerable. With the most luxurious interior in its class and an innovative touchpad, the all-new 2015 C-Class is as exciting to experience standing still as it is in motion. And with its improved acceleration power, your state of comfort continues, knowing you'll make it to your destination on time. See your authorized dealer and see the world differently in a C-Class from Mercedes-Benz. Get the 2015 C300 4MATIC starting at just $40,400. Test drive one today.
MSRP for a 2015 C300 4MATIC excludes all options, taxes, title, registration, transportation charge, and dealer prep. Options, model availability, and actual dealer price may vary. See dealer for details.
Mercedes-Benz of Anchorage. The best or nothing.
If you're ready for the movies, there's just one place to go. Check out moviesacre.com. It's showtime. Movie times, previews, and more. Get tickets, win stuff. Lots of information to explore. Great restaurants. Now you'll know just where to go. Before and after every show. Check out moviesacre.com. It's showtime.
If you need sandbags to give your car or truck a little extra traction on the ice and snow this winter, come to West High Hockey Sandbag Fundraiser and get to see your West High Hockey varsity, JV, and cheer squad for the 2014-15 seasons. They'll be selling sandbags, $5 each this Saturday, November 8th from 11 a.m. till 3 p.m. in the lot between Benson and Northern Lights Boulevard, west of Cars Aurora gas station, in the Sears Shopping Center parking lot. Proceeds support the athletes throughout the season. So come on out and support your West High Eagles.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel on Hot Talk KOAN and online. Weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. The Talk of the Valley, KVNT.
747 here on KOAN, KVNT 569-1080. If you have questions about an outcome or why it happened or what it means, we have the expert across the state of Alaska, amazing man, and runs a great organization, Dittman Research. Matt Larkin is in studio with us, Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie. Bonnie and I are in, and Fagan is out. We talked there a little bit about marijuana. I really want to get on to the situation with the governor's race.
Sure.
Because that's the Senate race, to me, there's no statistical possibility that Begich will win. I think he'll lose by more votes than he currently has. There is a strong Republican return awaiting, and there's a lot of military votes, which our new Senator Dan Sullivan will get the vast majority of. So at this point, I just take it that race is over, and at some point, by the way, is Begich right? They wouldn't count the votes if he gave up?
I don't think so. No, I think the state would count all the votes.
I think
I've never heard that the state says, okay, we're done counting the votes.
Even if he conceded and they
right.
counted the votes and he came out on top, he'd still win.
Do you take it as offensive as I do? One of his spokesmen said that we haven't counted all the votes in rural Alaska. Like, A, we wouldn't count the votes, or B, we don't want to count the votes.
I think there's probably a couple things going on here. One is, it's a tough thing to lose, right? I mean, everyone works very hard on their campaigns. The Begich folks have worked very, very hard for a long, long time.
Yeah,
and so it's
he wasn't Obama's. He was a thorn in Obama's side. That takes a lot of effort.
Well, I mean, on the campaign staff, all the folks working, all the folks that you're the media's talking to, you lose a campaign, and it's very difficult to deal with. It's emotional. So
most people deal with it, though. This is rare.
Well, there's some of that.
Would you admit that this is a very rare thing where Begich will not give up?
Well, here's the other thing too. I think if you look at other situations in our nation's history where we've had close elections, and look at Florida with Bush and Gore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now that
are
was
we going to go there?
Close,
by the way,
no, that was a lot closer than this one is, and I don't think we're going to go there.
Yeah, this is not even close. That's what I have a difficulty
But I'll just give you an example. I mean, the Gore folks in that race immediately went into spin mode that, and I think that was important because they were trying to kind of put the word out to the public that there was something wrong with the counts.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't anything going on. They actually hired a telemarketing firm out of Texas, within hours, and they were calling people in South Florida and saying, call your congressman, call your state. Your vote may not have been counted.
Firing them up.
Firing up
Mhm.
people.
Wow.
So that was the whole strategy, was kind of an outside-in game to just get the public up in arms that something was wrong with the vote count.
And I guarantee you, if it was the other way around, they would be calling Dan Sullivan on this to concede immediately. They are not giving him a hard time at all.
So,
you don't hear anything from the dispatch about it.
Of course. So here's the thing. I'm not playing up any conspiracy theories that that's what's going on or anything like that. But I'm just saying there's a general sense of, hey, it's not over. And while it's not officially over, they're going to continue to work as hard as they can, even if it's not very likely that they're going to win. But they're going to do everything they can in case it happens.
Okay. Well, it's not only not likely, Senator Begich and all of the rest of your folks, but if you continue to send out tweets that give an indication that some of us do not want to have native votes counted, then I will continue to disparage you, because that is a vicious and horrible statement.
How can they even say that? All the precincts are reporting.
Well, the absentee,
Yeah, but that's everybody. That's not just the native vote.
but that's the one he wanted to highlight.
Right.
He highlighted a racial difference.
But it doesn't.
Which
That
it doesn't
argument
do.
doesn't even hold water.
You know the biggest section of absentee votes that haven't been counted yet? It's
military.
Well, yeah, there's that. But I mean, just in terms of a region of the state, it's downtown Juneau.
Oh.
Okay. So that's not Native Alaska.
Yeah.
That's not Bush, Alaska.
No.
So there was a lot on the Kenai as well. So yeah, and
well, look,
I agree with you. We've looked at it.
I don't like them coming out and giving some indication that either people don't want all the votes counted, all the votes will be counted. We just covered that, so that claim is false. That there is some animus between one part of the state and another part of the state based on people's racial makeup. That was completely fabricated by the Begich the Begich camp. That's not true. I just don't like people, and Begich has done this consistently. Really, this was his only hope, was to drive up enough racial animus so that people in the bush would overwhelmingly vote for Begich because they hated the people who he's running against. I just can't stand that, and I'm sick of it, and it's really one of the things I'm going to dedicate myself to change and not allow Democrats to do anymore, and figure out what it is that Native people really want. What do you want from your government? And if we can legitimately do those things, we've got to get rid of this racial divide. It's just got to go. Anyway, so that's one of the things I'm dedicated to work on. Let's get to the governor's race.
Okay.
It's pretty close. It's 3 times closer than the Begich race.
Yes.
There's 1%, 1.4% difference or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
What is the case to be made? And Neighbors makes it, I think, in the paper. What's the case to be made that this could change?
Well, I mean, the fact that it's very close, the fact that there are a lot of votes yet to be counted, and it's obviously still, if you look at the number of ballots still to be counted, it's it's possible to overturn the current trajectory, and so we'll just have to see. We've looked at it, and I look at it. I think everyone that has looked at it, it's a bit of an uphill climb. It always is trying to overturn it, but the race is close, and we'll have to see how that plays out.
Well,
so I think the governor's people are doing the right thing. They're saying, they're not saying much, but if they're asked about it, they're saying, well, we're going to wait and see how it is when all of them are counted, and that's all you can do, right? I mean, so there's a lot of question ballots that are still out there.
Now, how will the question ballots break? Because I was taking the question ballots usually will break non-incumbent.
Well, it just depends. I mean, because you have a lot of different dynamics going on. Question ballots are ballots that in a lot of cases are voted. Somebody shows up to vote. That they're not in their voting area, and so you can vote, right? And so this time around, we had conventions going on, the AFN convention, where Begich the Begich campaign were taking people over to City Hall to vote. So I mean, all those votes are going to be question ballots.
Do Republicans ever do that, by the way? Do the Republican campaigns ever just grab up a group of people and take them from one place to the other? I mean, I've never really heard of that.
I don't think so. In general, I think the Democrats have been better about organizing on the ground and getting votes.
When the iron's hot,
yeah.
you say, folks, get in the bus. Let's go. We're going to drive you over to the polls. You just endorsed me, and I want you all to vote for me. So everybody who's here, get in the bus.
Well, yeah, and so I mean, those would, to the extent that occurred, and I don't know how widespread it was. I've heard that occurred. I also heard it was happening at the airport, so people would get in, land at the airport, and then be taken to vote at the nearest polling place. Those would be question ballots.
Are those marginal? Is that marginally legal, or is that fully legal?
I don't know.
And would those be question or early? Because if they were taking them to Election Central,
well, yeah, they should be taking them to early.
A polling place, that would be early votes.
Yeah, those would all be early votes, and most of those would have been counted.
Well, some of them possibly, but if they were not voting in their
on voting day
in their location, I think some of those
was the AFN already done by then? Because the AFN was on the weekend, like 8 days before or 9 days before. Is that right?
Yeah, it was before.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, let's hope that most of those are already counted, so the bees in the butter or whatever they say there. All right, so in all likelihood here, Walker probably has this race. It's going to be close. We're obviously going to count the ballots. What do you make of his approach? Right now he said Nizick is out and Baylash is out. Do you think he'll keep any of the people who are commissioners?
Well, he said he's willing to look at doing that, so he probably would look at that.
He was willing to look at anything.
I think.
To be fair.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I think he's coming in if he ultimately prevails here, obviously. But this is not a landslide win, right? It's a close election. He sees that.
And he ran it largely as a conservative.
And the legislature is controlled by the Republicans on the House and on the Senate as well, and even added a seat on the Senate side. Hollis French is been replaced now by Mia Costello.
Yeah, and Lyman Hoffman came over and made a 15th Republican, so now they have a 75-25, which is a key measure, by the way. People don't know that.
It is. So I mean, I think it'll be real interesting to see, and we'll just have to wait and see. I'm not a big fan of trying to predict what's going to happen in these sorts of things because I just don't think you can. But I think we ought to just let it, if he prevails, let it play out and see.
Okay.
Give everything a chance. I've heard a lot of doom and gloom from a lot of folks in the circles that I run in, but I just always say, let's see how things play out.
Do you have a sense on how the undeclared and nonpartisan, who is who of that, Republican versus Democrat?
We see the nonpartisans leaning a lot more left than do undeclared voters.
Is that so they can vote in our primary?
I think there is a connection. I mentioned earlier in the show that the registration between down from Democrats.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's up a little bit for nonpartisans, and so I think there's probably a case to be made that you've seen some Democrats, move from the Democrat Party to the nonpartisan designation, so that they could vote in Republican primaries or vote in things where there's not a Democrat.
Matt
ticket.
Larkin in with us. Can you stay with us a
Sure.
little longer? Oh,
Yep,
that'd be great. Yeah, I want to talk about the federal side and see where Republicans might head from here, and also close out a couple of the House races which are still up in the air. So lots left to do. Love to hear from you. 569-1080. Fagan, Biegel and Bonnie. Fagan's out today, so Biegel and Bonnie are in with Matt Larkin from Dittman Research. Stay tuned. So Biegel and Bonnie are in with Matt Larkin from Dittman Research. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Brad Keithley. Like you, I'm glad the election is over. Now it's time to put Alaska's fiscal house in order. During the campaign, the state's fiscal condition didn't stay still. It got worse. The price of oil dropped dramatically. This year's state budget spends about $6 billion, but at current oil prices, revenues will total only about $3 billion. That's a deep hole. Getting out of that hole means making tough choices, and we know our leaders can't do it alone. They'll need the support of people like us, people who believe in a simple common sense principle that Alaska must live within its means. A couple of years ago, I founded Alaskans for Sustainable Budgets, so Alaskans can work together to help fix the budget. I pledged to work with the leaders we just elected, both those I supported and those I didn't, as they address the state's fiscal gap, and I'm asking for your help. Join us at itsourfutureak.com to help put Alaska on the right track and to urge legislators to support sustainable budgets. We need to fix this. Working together, we can. itsourfutureak.com.
Not just talk. Hot talk. KOAN Anchorage, 95.1 FM, 1080 AM.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lisa Brady. The president praising the new jobs report as a testament to the American people.
They have been steady and strong, digging themselves out of the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression.
214,000 jobs added in October and the lowest unemployment rate in more than 6 years. Republicans say the president's policies have stifled a stronger recovery. Top members of Congress from both parties arriving at the White House for a power lunch this hour.
President Obama tells reporters at the beginning of a cabinet meeting here he's eager to talk with congressional leaders about how to build on the economic momentum underway.
But I'm also going to be interested in listening to them in terms of areas where we think it's possible to work together.
This will be the first get-together for President Obama and leading lawmakers since the midterm elections that resulted in Republicans winning full control of Congress. An aide to House Speaker John Boehner says Republican leaders will remind the president that the list of House-passed jobs bills is a great place to start. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News Radio.
A Russian man accused in Taliban attacks on U.S. troops in Afghanistan is ordered to stay in custody ahead of the first U.S. trial for a military detainee from the war in Afghanistan. Fox Radio's Steve Taylor, live in Washington.
He's from Russia, but he's charged with leading a Taliban attack on U.S. forces in Afghanistan 5 years ago. Iraq Hamidullah is the first military prisoner taken in Afghanistan to be brought to the U.S. for trial. He's just pleaded not guilty to terrorism charges at a federal court in Richmond, Virginia. The Obama administration wants to demonstrate that the U.S. criminal courts can handle terrorism cases. In the past, some of those cases have been handled by military courts. Hamidullah is in custody. His trial's set for April. Lisa.
Steve, thanks. Stocks have been mixed. Right now, though, the Dow has turned lower, down 11 points. You're listening to Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Attention homeowners. I'm Jay Farner, president of Quicken Loans, and I have some important information for you regarding the U.S. government's Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP. We've told you about HARP in the past, and more than 3 million homeowners have already taken advantage of this money-saving program. But there are so many more of you who could be saving hundreds of dollars every month on your mortgage. And Quicken Loans is here to help you save your money. The home loan experts at Quicken Loans fully understand the HARP guidelines. If you weren't HARP eligible in the past, new guidelines could mean that now you are. Give us a call and we'll give you a Quicken Loans mortgage review. It's simple and easy. And for 4 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Call 800-QUICKEN. That's 800-QUICKEN. Or go to QuickenLoans.com for a mortgage experience that's engineered to amaze.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Payment example excludes taxes and insurance costs. For cost information, equal housing lender license in all 50 states.
Oh, yeah, it's game day. I love football. He could go all the way. He's at the 10, the 5, touchdown. Man, that's why I love football. There's nothing better. Well, except maybe free buffalo wings from Sicily's. Call 333-8000 right now and ask for free buffalo wings. Buy any extra large 2-topping pizza at regular price and get 10 free buffalo wings. It's fast, easy, and affordable. Enjoy hot, fresh pizza and Italian food. Call 333-8000 or order online at SicilysPizza.com. Best ingredients, best pizza, Sicily's.
Just call Sicily's Pizza. 333-8000.
Is your IT department burdened with first-line support calls about printer jams and broken printers? Are individual departments purchasing expensive printer cartridges that get buried in office supply budgets? Is your printer support strategy really a printer replacement plan? Let Alaska Enterprise Solutions show you how to reduce those high print costs. AES is a Xerox professional agency in Alaska with Xerox's worldwide support behind them. You can reach us at aesalaska.com or 561-5100.
Do you remember that Beatles song? If the rain comes, they'll run and hide their heads. You know which one I'm talking about. Well, if that's you and you're inside your home or office, it's time to call Earhart Roofing. Call Earhart Roofing for all your roofing needs. Flat or pitched, large or small, Earhart Roofing will do the job quickly, and they'll do it right. Earhart Roofing, big enough to serve you and still small enough to care. Call 345-5555. That's 345-5555.
All my life, I've enjoyed hunting and fishing, but as I got older, it made it harder to enjoy the Alaskan outdoors. Thanks to Chugash Chiropractic, I'm back on the stream enjoying Alaska.
Besides aligning the spine, we also deal with the musculature and the nervous system of the body. To do that, we not only adjust the spine, but we also balance muscles along with various therapies and deep tissue therapy. We help bring the body back to normal function.
Glen Biegel, you have beautiful teeth.
Why, thank you, Dan Fagan. That's because my family and I have gone to Dr. Dan Kiley for years.
I get scared at the dentist.
Dr. Kiley knows people like you are afraid, so he creates a relaxed atmosphere at his office. People actually like going to the dentist with Dr. Kiley.
I know it's important to have good dental health.
And you look better with good teeth. And Dr. Kiley offers cosmetic dentistry along with general care.
Visit Dr. Dan Kiley at lakeotisdental.com. Call him at 562-9209.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel in the morning. Give him a call. 56. You're on with Fagan and Biegel in the morning on the Talk of the Valley, KVNT 92.5 FM, 1020
8:06 a.m. Happy Friday, everyone. We made it. Do you feel like Matt Larkin's in studio with me? You're listening to Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie here on KON. Is Friday an accomplishment for you?
It is this week, right? There's, 2014 election in the bag, and so we, have been doing a lot of work, obviously, for a long time on different things, and so I'm like everybody else. I'm glad that we're done with it, and
take a little breather,
move on with
Now, the Democrats and Begich's camp are making the case that votes will not be counted. Is that your understanding or not?
My understanding is votes get counted in Alaska. The Division of Elections does a great job, and I think they're going to count all the votes. We were talking about in the break, just in case we still have listeners that have been listening through this whole segment. We think early votes, anybody that voted early is an early vote, not a question ballot.
Right.
Is the correct.
The only way that you could be a question ballot if you early voted is if you were not registered at all and you demanded to put in a ballot. Then it would be questioned and it wouldn't be counted.
Because they cannot turn you away, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so I just thanks for letting me clarify that, because I don't want to I'll get calls about it if I said something wrong on the radio.
Yeah, these are what the Democrats are saying, by the way, and this is why we're reporting that the Democrats here are wrong about what they are saying. More D.C. staff and consultants urge a halt to Alaska vote count. They don't put any attribution on that, by the way. What's the beef with counting all the votes? Another one from Alaska Democrats. This is why I find these accusations totally despicable. They are talking about me. I will not allow for anybody's vote not to be counted if they cast a legitimate ballot. Ironic that a carpetbagger who wouldn't want to count votes of first Alaskans, another racial assault.
Well, again, you look back at the Gore-Bush election in Florida. That's the first time the country was introduced to the term voting irregularities. You remember that? That's kind of a nondescript term, but it was used to hype up South Florida in saying that your vote wasn't counted.
Right.
But that was a purposeful PR campaign to do that.
Here, they're just wrong. We count all the votes. I mean, literally, Democrats are just basically saying falsehoods and bringing in racial animus at the same time. This is evil, and it's a sin. I just want people to know what the Democrats are trying to do here is evil because it's turning people against others. It is actually an assault on Dan Sullivan's character, and it's wrong. So they're killing his character, and it's an illegitimate claim.
And really, what an affront to him because he has a native wife. I mean, I think people don't even know that still.
I agree.
Here's the thing, though. I would it's Twitter, right? They're not reaching that many people with it, and I don't think you're going to see. I don't think you're going to see them try to put on a campaign and really convince Alaskans that somebody is asking for their votes not to be counted.
Yeah.
I mean, I sure hope
well,
that wouldn't
that's
happen.
the point they're trying to get across, that is going to amp up Democrats, and it's an illegitimate claim. We just covered it here. All votes will be counted. There's no chance that a single vote that is not legitimately cast will not be counted in this campaign, regardless of if Begich legitimately concedes the election and allows Dan Sullivan to continue. Let me go to the phones here and get to your thoughts, your comments. Matt Larkin in studio, Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie on the air. 569-1080 is the number. John, welcome.
Good morning, Glenn. How you doing today?
Doing well. We're post-election just enjoyment here.
Post-election euphoria, yes.
That's right.
I had a question directed to you, but I guess the whole panel could take a stab at it. I know you were going to talk about the gubernatorial race, and do you think that maybe Walker chose Malott as a running mate to really go after that native Alaskan vote? I mean, as a strategy?
Well, Matt, why don't you answer this first, because I have my own thoughts on it. Great question, John.
Well, I think I don't know that they really chose each other as much as that their independent ticket, their non-affiliated ticket, as much as it just worked out that way based on who the Democrats selected and the fact that Bill Walker was already going to be in the race as an independent. And I think it was more the calculation that was made on the after the primary was that before the primary was that if they were going to win, there needed to be a two-way race. So I think that was the primary calculation. I don't think that he was selected in that way, because it didn't work. That was the Democrats' ticket, and there was only the other independent ticket. So that's
but
how it
he
worked
could
out.
have chosen Hollis French, and he didn't. So that is a good point.
No, the Democrats wouldn't have gone along with that. It's a great question, John, and you picked up on something that concerns me. First of all, Walker didn't choose anybody. Tom Begich did.
Walker was chosen.
That's right.
That's right.
Basically, the view of the Democrats was Begich's best chance to do a get out the vote and allow for other attacks to come in against conservatives was to marry this ticket up. This is the masterminds, the brains back in Washington, D.C., looking at the numbers and looking at the same numbers Matt Larkin looks at and says, this is an impossible race unless we overturn out the Bush and underturn out the Towns. And so I think you nailed it, John, that basically the point of bringing Walker and Malott together was not even to have them win the gubernatorial race. It was just to allow for another assault against conservatives and allow them to turn out the Bush, which, look, they did. You even said, Matt, that was successful. It just wasn't enough.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, so I think you picked up on it, John. I think that's a great comment.
So if here's the last question: if Walker wins, will we lose a gas pipeline? Do you think?
As I said, I think we ought to wait and see. I mean, there's a lot of concern. I've heard that. The reality is Walker wants a gas pipeline. We all want a gas pipeline. I think the companies that are working with the state recognize it's a long-term project and that they're going to have to, there's a political process anytime you have the state being an owner or a business partner, and they're going to have to be able to navigate through multiple administrations. So I think that's probably where their starting point is. I do think there's something to the effect that there's an agreement in place, and anytime you come in and decide you want to change if you decide you want to change the agreement around, that introduces a lot of risk. So we'll just have to see.
And Walker's idea is to run the pipeline through Valdez, which is his old town where he was a mayor for 1 year, right?
Well, he was on and off that. He started at Valdez, and then he said, if this new gas line looks like it'll go, then I'll take that. Valdez isn't an absolute necessity, so he's a little hazy on that too, John.
That's what concerns me, is that haziness.
It depends on who he's talking to.
Well, he wants us. Look, John, trust me on this. If anything should give you comfort, it's this one thing. He wants a gas line more than you do. He wants a gas line more than anything. That's the hope that we have, right? That he will not do anything to jeopardize this line. And if the oil companies come back and say, look, we're working on a gas line, we're doing everything we can, we're investing billions in it, we're ready to go, come in, let's talk about it. We may be able to bargain away some things, but there are some things you can do that will kill this line, and this is what they are. That conversation may happen. So rest, put your hope in that, and we'll see how it turns out. All right, John?
Thanks, gang. Love yourself.
All right, Gary, hold on. Be right to you. 569-1080, Matt Larkin in studio.
Thousand vehicles and 700 4x4s. That's why we're 4x4 headquarters.
Right now, pick any vehicle on the lot, and you can make no payments until next year. Take a look.
Check out these 4x4s. A Chevy Trailblazer, just $59.50, and a Ford Explorer for $99.50.
Here's a Ford Expedition, just $10,900. And here's a Chevy 1500, just $12,900.
And with over 1,000 vehicles to choose from, you're sure to find one that's just right for you. Plus, no payments until next year.
And we can finance anyone we want to. We have our own finance company.
And don't forget your trade-in. We need your trade-in.
So push, pull, or drag it in, and you'll get top dollar. Now's the time. Head into Giant Worthington Ford on Gamble.
07 Explorer Q1111, 07 1500 SQ1995A, 06 Trailblazer Q1336A, 08 Expedition Q1688. On approved credit, subject to prior sales. See dealer for details. Ends 11/13/2014.
This is Dr. Ellenberg. Are you tired of taking medications? Do your medications create more side effects than solutions? Do you want more than 15 minutes with your doctor? If you answer yes to those questions, you should consider calling the Ellenberg Center for Natural Medicine. At our center, we take the time to listen and focus on finding the cause of your health problems. Whether you have a cold, high blood pressure, diabetes, or cancer, we can help. Call the Ellenberg Center for Natural Medicine at 563-2366 or visit us online at drellenberg.com. We can help.
Hello? Hi, it's me, Russ Matthews, America's Gay. Listen, I get it. Life is hard. Okay, we all struggle. Boyfriend problems, girlfriend problems, job problems, life problems, which TV show to watch. Honey, I get it. You need help. That's why I'm here. I'm the gay best friend you wish you had, and honey, you know you need. It's Straight Talk with me, Ross Matthews. I'm not going to lie, it could hurt a little. You're going to have to stretch before this. Download my debut episode, Thursday, November 6th, on podcast1.com.
Hot Talk, KOAN, man. You're on with Fagan and Biegel.
Weekday mornings from 6 to 9 a.m. on the Talk of the Valley, KVNT.
8:17 a.m. Majority Leader Kevin Meyer will be with us, the Senate Majority Leader. They just reorganized the Senate, and I don't think he has been the Senate Majority Leader, so I believe this is going to be new. It's a new leadership and maybe a new direction. We'll see where it's going to go. Of course, we may have a new governor. We may not have a new governor. We just don't know. The vote was pretty 569-1080. You're listening to KON KVNT 569-1080. Matt Larkin with Dittman Research is in studio with me, and I'd love to hear from you. Bonnie and Glenn are in studio as well. What do you make of it being so close? Is that Gary again, or is this Jerry?
It's Jerry. I think I just heard him wrong the first
Oh, that's
time.
fine. Can we take a call here? I was just going to get into another line of commentary, but I want to take people's calls. I'd love it when you guys call, so please call us 569-1080. Jerry, welcome to the program. You're on with Matt Larkin.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
I listen to you every morning. I set my alarm clock to go off at about 5:45, and I listen to you every morning.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you.
And Bonnie?
Yes.
I want to congratulate you today.
Thank you. On what first?
Much of the time, I'm not going to say all the time, but much of the time, you seem kind of hesitant to bring your viewpoints because you've got a negative person sitting there that challenges you much of the time on whatever you want to bring forward. And I'm talking about Mr. Dan Fagan. Today, you're coming out with all kinds of good ideas. You've got a positive attitude. I can hear your vibrations that you're feeling good about things. And it's totally different than the normal. Just yesterday, you said something about some people being what was the word you used? That you got challenged by Fagan to try and prove, and he asked you.
Gloating.
Gloating, exactly.
Yes, I said it was an attitude, not specific
Did you
examples.
take the Republicans nationally to gloat, Jerry? Do you think that?
Well, I think I agree with what Bonnie said yesterday, that there seems to be an attitude, not a come out in your face a gloat, but there's this attitude. Hey, look, we've won. We can show you Democrats that you don't have a voice anymore, and that kind of prevailed in some of the comments that were done by not necessarily all the legislators, but it was done by definitely on Fox News.
Well, I want to get Matt. I want to get your take on this here, and that is, what is the appropriate response for Republicans nationally to this unbelievable wave election? It looks like we're going to have 9 new Republican senators. Begich will not be a senator anymore, so ours will be
Honey,
the
you
8th.
keep the good work.
Oh, thank you, Jerry. I
Hey,
really
Jerry,
appreciate that.
it. Thanks for the comments.
Keep positive, girl. Keep positive.
I love it.
We have a mixture, by the way, different jobs that different people do here on the show, and I think that it's a great mix, and it's got to be good because you listen to us. So that's
Thank you for listening, by the way.
a good
That's
indication
great.
of that. And Dan's got his great part to play as well.
He starts listening before you guys even get here.
That's right. I'm still driving in on the way.
What is the proper response for Republicans? And I of course, throw lots of different people in there: conservative, libertarians, common sense independents, the establishment, into what happened in this election. What do you think they should be saying?
Well, I think the situation speaks for itself, really. I mean, that was such a
is this an endorsement of Republicans? Is it an endorsement of the establishment? Is it a rejection of Obama? Is it all of the above?
I don't know that the country has suddenly gotten more conservative and all that. But I definitely think it is what you've seen is it's the president's policies, people's views on Washington, all of the stuff going on. Okay, I think if you look at any number of issues, international, ISIS, Ebola, the deficit, all of these problems. I mean, Americans looking at this going, wow, I don't remember. The country just feels like it is going in the wrong direction on a whole number of fronts. And so you've got, President Obama presiding over all this. Any environment like that where you've got this many things going on, this much concern about the direction of the country, is going to favor the other political party. And I think so. I think the Republican wave is a direct reflection of how much concern there is from Americans on the direction of the country.
I saw this was the comment that I thought summed it up pretty well, and that is Republicans weren't elected to work with Obama. They were elected to stop him.
Yeah, I think that was the sentiment amongst many who voted for Republican candidates this time. We don't like the direction this is going, and we need more people in Washington who disagree with the current trajectory and the people that are in charge.
And then people who are willing to do something about it. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, this group was definitely going to stand up against Obama. Now, this is what I think goes too far and goes to gloating. I don't know that many people like or voted for Mitch McConnell.
No.
I don't know that many people like or voted for John Boehner. What they voted for generally was, we don't like this direction and we don't like this guy. We're voting the other people. Here's the opportunity that I think conservatives, Republicans have. Tell us what it is you want to do. Try and enact legislation. Largely it's going to be stopped by the Democrats and almost always will be stopped by the president. But try and enact good legislation. But I think this gives them an opportunity to make their case. This is, if you will let us govern, this is what we will do. This is what governance under conservatives, which we do not have, and we can't work with this president, and we will stop this president from doing what you didn't like. But this is what it would look like. It allows them to sort of get a message together, because I don't really know what Republicans, quote unquote, stand for.
That's the opportunity they have now. You nailed it. I mean, that's it. Before you have the House and the Senate always fighting over different things. Republicans in the House are not going to get anything through the Senate. Harry Reid, everything's
300 or
dead on
400
arrival,
bills
so,
basically just died on Harry Reid's desk.
So now that you don't have that dynamic, you have Republicans firmly in control of both sides. That's the opportunity. Lay out for the American people. Here are the ideas that we want to push forward with. We think these are good ideas for these reasons. We think you will agree with us on it, and here's an example of 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or 5 of them.
And it's not that they're not going to do them. They just don't expect them to get passed because the president has a vast amount of power.
He's got a veto power, so but they can put forward their ideas and let the people see how it plays out.
And I would love for them to do
none
that.
None of that was really coming through. I mean, it was just a
battle.
That's because they try one time and then they give up. If they would keep doing it over and over and over again, it would make him start to look really bad. To keep vetoing things, just keep doing it.
Well, and all of this is played through the media. Do you take the media, by the way, as having a smaller and smaller impact on what it is that Americans actually think?
I do.
I think that's true. But how much does it erode every year? Is it 1%? Is it 2%? Is it increasing the amount of erosion?
It's tough for me to put a number on something like that. I just get the sense, though, that our collective individual attention spans are shorter. We are getting so much messages and media from so many different places now that you don't just look at the media. You got a lot of different places to find out what's going on. And so I think that, and I think journalism has suffered as well. I mean, I don't think it's as good as it used to be.
Yeah. Well, I think they've lost kind of control of the narrative. In other words, that when you turn on the nightly news, you are going to get a narrative which would describe in a very short period of time, this is what America is.
Yeah.
And I don't really think that people believe that the media and that the nightly news broadcast or this paper, frankly, tell us what Alaska is or what America is anymore.
We get a lot of, sound bites. We get a lot of shortened versions of complex issues. Yeah.
Now, is the Alaska News Dispatch going to be harmed or helped with their constant coverage of the National Guard scandal, which actually stopped after Tuesday? They have not covered another National Guard story.
Isn't that
Apparently,
curious?
it's been fixed.
All cleared up now.
Right? Cleared up. It wasn't a political attack or anything like that.
Here's the thing. I think there are, and we know a lot of folks in the media in our business, right? I mean, we get asked all the time, what do we think about stuff? My sense in talking to a lot of the different reporters, there are a number of them who really work hard. They try to cover the story the right way. I do think it's legitimate to ask now, though, that you have the largest online news site in Alaska combined with the largest newspaper in Alaska, because that's all under one roof now. It's all under one management now. What does that mean longer term for journalism in our state? It's all consolidated there. So if that institution views issues a certain way,
do they have a
really
single conservative reporter? I don't think so.
I don't know. I don't
think so. I don't know what a single conservative reporter would do for them, but at least it would give us a like Nat Hertz.
Yep.
He was such a breath of fresh air. He's not conservative by any stretch of the imagination, I don't think, but it's still, he would come at things from a different point of view, and his columns were actually really well written.
He works hard. He's one of the. Yeah, I think that's right about him. I mean, he really works hard.
It's kind of up to Amanda at this point to
her blog and website has become really, if you want to know about political news, I mean, that's really where you have to go.
But there is definitely still a bias there. So.
Yeah, she comes at it from a point of view, but she's free to tell us what her point of view is.
She does.
And
That's
I
right.
think that's great. But here, to actually print the tweets of the Democrats who are trying to convince people that we're not going to count votes if Begich concedes like he should, to say that Sullivan actually wants to not count votes of First Alaskans in a racial attack against a decent man. For her to print these things, these would never be printed.
Nobody, like Matt was saying, though, nobody would ever really know about it, though, because it's on Twitter.
Well, no, Democrats know about it, and they feed themselves off of this hate and disdain for a person who.
Oh, so you're saying it gives us another side to see.
It gives us an ability
Right.
to look into why is it that you hate conservatives? I don't even understand that. Here's why: because they're saying they just want to count their votes.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
Anyway. I really appreciate you coming in. We have so much to do. The state's going to be very exciting over the next couple of years. So I know you're business, Dittman Research is going to be much more important than it probably has been ever.
I hope so.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks for having me.
Matt Larkin, you're listening to Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie. Biegel and Bonnie are in studio today. 569-1080. Kevin Meyer will be with us. New Senate Majority Leader. Stay tuned. 569-1080. Kevin Meyer will be with us. New Senate Majority Leader. Stay tuned.
Fagan and Biegel on Hot Talk KOAN and online at 1080KOAN.com.
Local news brought to you by Jansen Funeral Homes, Jansen's Evergreen Memorial Chapel, Jansen's Alaska Cremation Center, and Jansen's Eagle River Funeral Home. Jansen Funeral Homes, where just like family, they're there when you need them.
With KOAN News, I'm Chuck White. State police releasing the names of the two men killed in a two-car collision in Fairbanks Wednesday. Say 33-year-old Shane Yoder of Fairbanks and 73-year-old William Thurlby of North Pole died in that crash. Two victims, they say, were in separate vehicles. Some interesting financial details emerging from Tuesday's election, and Kenda explains.
According to the Center for Responsive Politics, the Senate race was the most expensive in state history. Total spending hit $57 million, $40 million of which came from outside groups not affiliated with the campaigns, and $17 million from the campaigns themselves. The majority of the money came from outside Alaska. Analysts say it does not appear that more spending necessarily translates into a higher turnout.
The Board of Regents for the University of Alaska is studying a proposal to add a doctorate in nursing program to its academic offerings. It's expected to enroll about 50 students a year. That's your Hot Talk News update.
Today, partial sunshine, high 35. For tonight, mostly cloudy skies with snow and little to no accumulation is expected, low 25. Partly sunny with a rain or snow shower in spots for Saturday, high 38. Tomorrow night, low 28. Sunday, snow and rain with little to no accumulation, high 43. Hot Talk, breaking news, and the latest weather, KOAN 95.1 FM and 1080 AM.
Local news, weather, and the Dan Fagan Glen Biegel Show on Hot Talk. KOAN, brought to you by Connect Country Liquor, with 4 convenient locations in the Valley and Talkeetna. You won't find a better selection.
Or at visitingangels.com.
A better life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
Looking for a way to fight dry skin? Well, I have one that dates back over 5,000 years. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN's chief medical correspondent. Dermatologists say that olive oil, yes, the kind that you cook with, does wonders for your complexion. You can use it to clean your skin, but it also acts as a powerful face moisturizer, particularly for people with very dry skin, eczema, or psoriasis. Now, this isn't a new fad either. Using olive oil on the skin is an ancient beauty treatment dating back thousands of years. The antioxidants in it repair damage to your skin's tissue. The studies show that using olive oil on the face smooths the surface and gives elasticity to the skin. You can use it straight from the bottle to your face. And if you do that, the amount that you need is about a quarter size in the middle of your palm. For a thinner consistency, mix it with 2 tablespoons of water. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dad, what are you doing in my cape?
I'm not Dad. I'm Safety Man.
Any parent can be a safety hero. It just takes a few simple steps. Start by replacing older smoke alarms with Kidda Worry-Free alarms. The 10-year sealed-in lithium battery means these alarms are always on. No low battery chirps and no battery replacement for 10 years. And Kidda makes it simple to choose the right alarm for the right location. Help make fire safety worry-free and give back the cape. Kidda Worry-Free alarms, available at the Home Depot.
When our water heater broke down last month, it took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. I felt like I'd been taken, but what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break. Just call 800-711-6816. That's 800-711-6816.
When I grow up, I want to be a pro basketball player. An elementary school teacher.
No matter what dream you choose or where you are in life, Country Financial helps you and your family grow your own way.
Or maybe a veterinarian. A mom, a doctor, and president of the United States. Maybe an astronaut or, an Olympic gymnast.
You can grow your own way.
We know some dreams take a little longer to achieve, which is why your local Country Financial representative offers helpful advice on everything. From auto and home insurance to financial planning, education to retirement, and business insurance too, so that you can continue to grow and dream.
Or maybe an accountant, like my dad.
For more information, visit countryfinancial.com or call 1-866-COUNTRY. Country Financial. Grow your own way.
Why is A&A The Shop Alaska's independent Subaru specialist? How is it they've been voted the best shop in Anchorage not once but 6 times? Well, it's pretty simple. They offer the best warranty in the business. If they work on your Subaru, you're going to get a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty on both parts and labor. That's unheard of. A&A The Shop deals exclusively with Subarus, and they also offer $35 oil changes. All their technicians are ASE certified. Call A&A The Shop for an appointment. 562-3919 in Anchorage and 696-2096 in Eagle River. You're on with Fagan and Biegel on Hot Talk KOAN and online at 1080KOAN.com.
All right, we're going to have to pause the show, I think, here for just a moment. Brian, are you going to be okay?
I don't know. I'm a little bit freaked out by that.
All right. Well, we're gonna have to describe it. Let me tell you where you're at, though. Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie here. We're on KOAN, KVNT, and we're shortly going to go to Senate President Kevin Meyer. Fagan is out, but Brian just saw something I think that might have changed your life.
Yeah. I was getting on Facebook, and then I saw some pictures. My daughter was tagged. She's starring in a play at her high school, Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, how exciting.
And one of the pictures, she's kissing a boy. Just kind of, I wasn't ready for that.
She didn't let you know about that part, did she?
No, I mean, I wouldn't have. It's acting, but still.
Is it? Now, how do you tell?
Well,
it's a play.
It's on a stage.
Yeah, all right.
They're professional photographs.
I don't think so.
She didn't get a chance to untag herself before Dad caught it.
Well, I'm flying down there tonight to go see her tomorrow.
Okay.
Her last show.
Well, now that is amazing.
Yeah.
What a great dad thing.
Oh,
Well, congratulations. All right, let's go to our guest
so
here.
You'll get to see it in person.
Senator Kevin Meyer. He's going to hold his hands over his face while she does that and hum. Senator Meyer, welcome.
Hey, good morning, Glenn and Bonnie. How you doing?
Well, congratulations to you. You will, in all likelihood, people have difficulty understanding the way that our form of government really operates, because a lot of it's hidden, a lot of it is sort of smoke and mirrors, but you may be, if not you're probably the second most important political person in the state of Alaska being elected to a supermajority in the Senate as the majority leader. So I just wanted to congratulate you on that, and then I wanted to walk through with you what it's going to mean for us.
Okay. Well, yeah, thanks, Glenn. And indeed, I am honored, first of all, just to be reelected again and to have the public's trust to represent them down in Juneau. And you're one of my constituents, so I want to thank you.
I voted for you. Just full disclosure here.
Good.
Actually, I wrote in Mickey Mouse. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I remember, knocking on your door, and you were busy building a deck or doing something.
I was building a shed. You were going house to house, and we had a quick little chat there, and it's so much fun to see the representatives and legislators who, honestly, you have such an important job, but you do take the time to go out and find out what's going on.
Well, I tell you what, it was competitive this year. I always walk every time I run, but this year, Senator Begich just had a huge ground game. You can always tell because they kind of had that lost look on their face, and then they're asking me, well, who are you and who are you working for? And I go, well, I'm Senator Meyer and I'm working for myself, but yeah, and after a while, people just stopped opening their doors because they were just getting hit so much and so often.
Well, my suggestion is you just register as a Republican, and then answer a couple of pro-life questions, and then you'll never get visited by any of those liberal Democrats who come up from down south.
Yeah, I know. I didn't have my wife. I wasn't home much, but my wife said we hardly had anybody at our house because we had, Sullivan and Parnell, and of course my sign and Representative Millett's sign in our yard. So I think people got the message.
I think they did get the message, and with Lyman Hoffman coming on, 15 votes in the Senate, a 75% majority is important. I covered it because the Constitutional Budget Reserve, if we're in deficit for the year, is that still the case that it takes 75% to be able?
That's correct. It does take a supermajority or three-quarter vote if you have to dip in the savings like your Constitutional Budget Reserve.
Now, were you around in the late 90s when the Democrats would always hold the entire state hostage until they get tens of millions of additional spending?
I wasn't in the legislature in the late 90s. I started in 2000, and even then we were having to do that. But Glenn, I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping we don't need that 15 vote for that purpose. But what it does do is it gives you flexibility as far as moving items around on the agenda on the floor.
Being majority leader?
No, having
15.
Having a three-quarter vote, you can move. You have a lot more flexibility, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty clear that statewide, the voters of the state of Alaska trust Republicans. We will not be seeing any more Democrat-led majorities, which led to the absolutely most outrageous budgets we've ever seen in history. You guys, I have said this to every legislators, come on, you guys are going to have the hardest job in the state. This is not going to be easy. I don't know how you're going to do it. And frankly, most of you are just regular average people with regular average jobs, not masters of industry who are going to have to figure out how to fairly dramatically restructure Alaska. Tell me your approach to it and tell me what's going to happen.
Well, obviously, the budget's going to be a key item, and I think having Senator Fairclough in there now as a new co-chairman of finance, she's going to bring in some new ideas and some fresh thoughts. And of course, my background is all finance too. So as the presiding officer, I know a little bit about the budget and finances as well. But we have to make some serious reductions. For several reasons. One is our oil production is down. Now it is starting to go back up, which is a positive sign, and that's what we were told would happen with SB 21. But the price we're getting for this additional oil is much below what we anticipated. We budgeted at $105 oil.
Wow.
And as you know, oil is now hovering around 80. So,
well, is the 80, is that West Coast International, or is that Alaska North Slope crude, which basically is mostly sold in California and Washington?
Yeah, the differences between WTI and ANS is starting to narrow quite a bit.
Is that right? Oh, that's even worse. I did not know that.
Yeah, because a lot of the oil now coming from North Dakota is being shipped by train over to the West Coast. So our oil doesn't have the premium that it used to. But it's probably still about $3 higher. So if the WTI is, well, I think it was 78, 79 yesterday.
Wow, only $3. It used to be 12 to 15.
Oh yeah,
as little as a year and a half ago.
Yeah, it used to be substantially different.
Wow, so we're talking about dramatically different, because I even thought it would still be around 90, being at around 78 plus our 12. But if it's only a $3 difference, we're looking at 81.
Yeah.
That means Alaska looks at what kind of a deficit?
Well, yeah, I mean, if it was to stay, in the lower 80s like this, your deficit is several $1 billion. I mean, at least $2 billion. And I'm just throwing out numbers here off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say exactly because we don't know what production's going to be and.
Exactly. But regardless, we have to roll up our sleeves and we have to totally redo our budget process and how we look at spending money going forward.
Senate Bill 21 was passed, and potential Governor-elect Walker, we don't actually know. Do you have any indication, by the way, that anything will change, or are you just sort of operating off of that it's going to stay like it is?
Well, we're the legislative branch, and that's the executive branch. So we're going to go ahead and do our thing and proceed forward, regardless who the governor is. Obviously, if it's Governor Parnell, it makes it a little bit easier because we have worked with him for the past 6 years and kind of have some idea of his priorities and where he wants to go. But if Governor Walker is successful, we'll work with him. I have spoken with with Bill Walker yesterday, and all indications are that we would work fine with him and his.
I think that's true too. Senator Meyer, hold on. Taisha will be right to you after the break. Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie, 569-1080. Stay tuned.
Dealer prep. Options, model availability, and actual dealer price may vary. See dealer for details.
Mercedes-Benz of Anchorage. The best or nothing.
Hi, I'm Brad Keithley. Like you, I'm glad the election is over. Now it's time to put Alaska's fiscal house in order. During the campaign, the state's fiscal condition didn't stay still. It got worse. The price of oil dropped dramatically. This year's state budget spends about $6 billion, but at current oil prices, revenues will total only about $3 billion. That's a deep hole. Getting out of that hole means making tough choices, and we know our leaders can't do it alone. They'll need the support of people like us, people who believe in a simple common sense principle that Alaska must live within its means. A couple of years ago, I founded Alaskans for Sustainable Budgets, so Alaskans could work together to help fix the budget. I pledged to work with the leaders we just elected, both those I supported and those I didn't, as they address the state's fiscal gap, and I'm asking for your help. Join us at itsourfutureak.com to help put Alaska on the right track and to urge legislators to support sustainable budgets. We need to fix this. Working together, we can. itsourfutureak.com.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel in the morning. Give him a call. You're on with Fagan and Biegel in the morning on the Talk of the Valley, KVNT.
569-1080, 8:47 a.m. Happy Friday, everybody. You made it through the most intense political season that probably will ever occur in Alaska's history, and maybe one of the most intense that will ever occur anywhere in the United States history. Because I think they spent $60 million on 600,000 people, of which only 240,000 or whatever voted. So we're talking about, I think they said $225 per voter. That is an incredible amount of money. On the phone with us, Senator Kevin Meyer, who's the new majority leader of the Senate and one of the most important people in our state as far as politics goes, what he thinks, what his ideas are, and his guidance of the majority will really help determine the outcomes largely here in the state. 569-1080, Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie here on the program. You had something there, Kevin, Senator Meyer?
Well, yeah, Glenn, I was just going to make one correction. The Senate Majority Leader is John Coghill from Fairbanks, and then I'm the Senate President now.
Okay, sorry,
yeah,
Senate President. Very
yeah.
good. You're the guy who essentially you guide the Senate in its process.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. And we got some big issues this year. One of the questions I get asked a lot after the election, and maybe you have some thoughts on this, Glenn, is how can some of these more liberal-oriented initiatives pass like marijuana and the Pro Pebble and the minimum wage and AO 37, but yet we continue to elect conservative candidates. And I'm not sure, other than I think sometimes these initiatives, people don't fully understand them. But obviously the marijuana one, some people might have thought that that's going to help with our revenue situation, and it's not.
No, it won't. I'll answer that, but let me go to Taisha here if we can. She has a question for you. Taisha, welcome to. She probably thought we weren't going to go to her. Well, this is my thought on it, by the way, is people are looking for you guys to govern as conservatives. They don't want to look to government for the answers to most things for most of the state of Alaska. And so they just want a well-run, common sense government. When people go out and gather all these signatures for this or that, for the Pebble Mine, to stop the Pebble Mine, and when they go out for marijuana and all of that, I really think that they say, okay, well, I like the legislature, and I like its common sense. It's a good approach. I trust these guys. I know these guys. That's okay. And they put the initiative process in a totally different basket. They don't relate them at all. And in the end, what they're expecting, I think, will happen, like the cruise ship initiative. We passed the cruise ship initiative. We found out that it was a disaster. You guys fix it. We didn't unelect you. It's not like we came back and said, oh, my gosh, you just undid what the people wanted. You're right. We didn't know what we wanted. When it turns out poorly, we expect you guys to fix it. If there's any problem with marijuana, if there are more deaths on the roads, if usage goes up, if younger kids start using it, if there's any problem with marijuana, you know what the people of Alaska expect of you? You will fix that. You will take care of that for us because you're our elected officials.
And minimum wage while you're at it.
Minimum wage. Look, if we see a dramatic decline in the ability for people to start small businesses or for young people to get hired in the state of Alaska, we are expecting that you will fix minimum wage, although that would be a much higher requirement because so many people voted for it. Anyway, but that's my take on it. Let me go back to the phones here. We're on with Senate President Kevin Meyer and Jim. Jim, welcome to KOAN KVNT.
Okay, thank you. Senator Meyer, I know you're mostly focused on the state, running the state, but I have a question regarding the United States, and that is using Article 5 of the Constitution to stop the president or at least change the course of this country. Are you having any discussions as to using Article 5 of the Constitution in that regard?
Jim, no, we haven't had that discussion yet. And of course, I just got selected to this position a couple of days ago.
Well, you were going to get, I appreciate the call, Jim. You were going to get an opportunity to get a presentation on this. And what it basically does is the function of the senators that used to be elected, I think, before the 16th or whatever amendment that made them popularly elected, essentially the states had power representation in Washington, D.C. Now that's almost gone, and this will return some of that back.
That's the 17th.
17th Amendment. All right. So you'll find out more about that, and I don't want to go over it with you right now. David, Let me go to David. David, welcome to KOAN, KVNT, Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie.
Yes, congratulations to Senator Meyer on your new position.
Thank you.
Hey, I know we got a lot of budget things and everything, but can you fix how bad our election system is at getting work results back to us? It seems to take us like 3 elections in a row. It seems to take almost a month to find out how we voted. Can you at least put that near your list?
Yeah, we certainly can.
Is there anything that the legislature can do? I mean,
well, it actually falls under the lieutenant governor. That's one of the functions that he's in charge of is the elections. But we can certainly have the lieutenant governor address that issue. I would imagine that would be a state affairs committee issue, which is now going to be Senator-elect Bill Stoltz, and I think Senator Stoltz would enjoy having that hearing and discussion with the lieutenant governor.
I think there is a lot of frustration. I mean, the Democrats are to the point. I wanted to get your comment on this, by the way. This comes directly from the Alaska Democrats. This is their Twitter account, and they are sending out this information. More D.C. staff and consultants urge a halt to the Alaska vote count. What's the beef with counting all the votes? Is there any chance that all the votes will not be counted? And do you know of anyone who is asking for votes not to be counted?
I don't, Glenn. I have not heard that.
Is it illegal? Is it legal to not count somebody's vote?
Yeah, I mean, every vote has to be counted, but some votes obviously are questionable. I mean,
the question balance. If you're not registered to vote and you make an illegally cast ballot, obviously, then but there's no chance.
No.
The Democrats are literally saying here that people are saying we need to stop counting votes.
And they're saying Dan Sullivan wants the votes
their
not to be
second
counted.
tweet is this: ironic that a carpetbagger wouldn't want to count votes of first Alaskans, throwing in an additional racial and native claim here. Is there any legitimacy to that?
I don't think so. That just sounds like Democrat propaganda.
Well, how do you deal with that? I guess this is really the question that it gets down to. Look, these are hateful, mean, spiteful, untrue, and frankly, they're disingenuous and vicious allegations that are just not true. They don't have any evidence of anybody asking for votes not to be counted, but they don't mind lying, and there must be something in this difference between right and left which causes this to happen. Why are they justified in doing this, and how do you work with people who do it?
Yeah, that's difficult, Glenn. And fortunately, in America, we do have freedom of speech, and so they can say whatever they want to. But our voting system is pretty good and has a lot of integrity and has a lot of checks and balances in place. And I would imagine, if it ends up being close, whether it be for governor or U.S. Senate, that we're going to do recounts and recounts. So I don't know where they're coming from.
Senator Meyer, I had a question about where the legislature might meet, since we have this new fancy office building. Will you guys be meeting more in Anchorage? I would love it personally if there was more in Anchorage, so that I could participate more. I've never been to Juneau. I was born and raised in Alaska.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you, Bonnie. I would as well. I do believe the legislature and the Capitol should be where the people are, and the people are obviously in South Central, whether it be Kenai or the Matsu Valley or Anchorage. The building is big enough that all 60 of us could get together, could have sessions there. And I think that was part of the thought process, was that at least for special sessions, there's no reason for all of us to have to go back down to Juneau. We could have them here in Anchorage.
Well, and I used to do travel for the state for some positions, and I know that the airline tickets are very, very expensive to go to Juneau.
Oh, they are.
On the fly, and not just for you guys, but for everybody else who has to go down there and meet commissioners and deputy this and that. And so anyway, I can see that as a cost-cutting measure, and I would really appreciate the opportunity to be able to see my legislators more often.
Yeah, and I know this LIO building has been under a lot of scrutiny as far as the cost goes, but yeah, we did purposely want to make it big enough so that we could have sessions here in Anchorage. So and you're right, Bonnie. In the long run, it may end up saving us money.
Right.
Talking with Senate President Kevin Meyer, and we have a newly formed supermajority of Republicans, Lyman Hoffman, organizing with the Republicans in the Senate, and that will mean that you've got an enormous amount of power and an ability to move bills that people want. What's real quick? You've got marijuana to implement. Is that going to be something you're going to have difficulty doing, or what are you going to do?
Well, yeah, marijuana is going to be tough. But, again, as the presiding officer, I sign bills to various committees, and I'm thinking, where does marijuana go? Is it a judiciary issue? Is it a health, social service issue? Is it a state affairs issue?
Well, all of the above. Yeah, you probably are going to need to send it to just about every one of them. All right. Senate President Kevin Meyer, thank you so much for being on with us.
Great. Well, thanks for having me.
Congratulations for surviving yet another election process.
Thank you.
All right. You listened to Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie. Have a fantastic Friday, folks. You made it through the most ridiculous election season in history. God bless. In history. God bless.